Good morning. This is the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District Board of Commissioners Work Session. Today's day is Monday, December 9th, and we're going to continue discussing what we've done on the budget and firm up some numbers that we can actually approve a budget on our regular meeting on December 16th. I'd like to first off thank Cindy Reagan for her input and what she did for us on Saturday. I think it was a big push forward to get us to look at some things that we haven't looked at in the past. And I think we're on track to have a balanced budget for 2025. And I think we ought to start back at some of the questions we had on Saturday. But I guess beginning we should, Rich, you want to start with which department head you want to have come up first or talk to first?
Yeah, we're going to start off with Mark, who is part-time helping out in the pro shop.
Okay.
So if you go and move to the pro shop. Department heads, when you're called up, go up to the podium and turn on your mic.
Okay, I'm here.
The floor is open to any commissioners who want to ask Mark about what's going on at the pro shop and what we're going to be doing in the future.
Mark Douglas, resident of Holiday Island for about a year now. Started working at the pro shop as part-time clerk and kind of got into this position by Mr. Ridge.
So Mark's been going through all the inventory of stuff, calculating everything, what we have for shirts and what we got going on. And then he's also going to play a part in moving the pro shop down to the basement and what we got to do there.
Okay.
So he just got the budget Friday. So he's not very familiar with it. So he's just, like I said, he's just a part-time right now. So if there's anything that you think that he can answer or can help out with, feel free.
I guess first off, I'd like to ask you, Mark, do you have a supplier to replenish the inventory now at a lesser cost than what we've been getting?
I have not dove into who the suppliers have been in the past. I'm sure it's going to be probably the same suppliers. We're just going to watch what we purchase.
Did you get copies of the invoices from Deb about what inventory we have up there now?
Yes, I have the inventory count right now, which it is not correct. That's going to be my task for the next 2 days, is to get this inventory correct, what we have on hand and what we do not have.
Okay. What is your feeling about continuing to sell shoes at the pro shop?
I don't think that's a good thing, because you have to have so many sizes in any style that you stock. You're going to have multiple sizes. Don't know if they have a requirement of you have to buy certain sizes. We've got 115 up there that I'm going to be lucky if I can ever find anybody to buy a 15. Normal sizes run probably 7.5 to women's to probably about 11 on men. But any style that you pick, you're going to have all of those sizes, which means we're going to have a pretty good size inventory.
I seem to remember from previous conversations that the vendor might take some of those back for credit. I don't know.
That is correct.
Okay, or we can mark them down and see who wants what.
We've been marking them. They're at 50% now.
Yeah, okay.
And we've sold quite a few at that 50% off.
Yeah, you will.
Which
What do you
is
have in
still
a
above
size
cost.
10? I'll stop in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 50% off is still above cost from what I can gather on my sheet.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mark, I think we need to have a lesser price product up there.
Yes, sir.
I just don't think that the cost of those materials up there that we have for sale are maybe in exclusive country club, they might be okay. But certainly in Holiday Island, we're not a country club. And I don't think the people that we have up there are mostly retired.
Right.
And I just think that the price is out of line. That's why stuff don't sell as good.
Yes, sir. And the style of shirt that we have up there. If you look around at all of the people that play golf up there, what style shirt do they wear? It's not the wild-flowered Hawaiian print that's going to sit on the shelf
My wife
forever.
was saying, maybe that's okay for a woman. She looked at him, she said, but I can't see any men wearing a Hawaiian flowered shirt when they're out there playing golf.
Correct. It needs to be more like a shirt like I've got on.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Kind of a plain, maybe it's a little stripe or two somewhere, but a lot of plain shirts are going to sell a lot better. And if you have them a medium price, you're going to be moving a lot more equipment. I think long-term is we'll make more profit.
Yes, sir.
Because you can move, we aren't going to have inventory sitting there and have to give it away at the end of the year.
Right.
And as far as balls and stuff, I think we got a decent line there. Do we sell a lot of golf balls?
We do. We sell quite a few golf balls.
Well, I would think so, and I think that's something, golf balls, tees, that sort of stuff, that we need to keep on hand and keep moving. And maybe once a month, we think of things like maybe putting something on sale, golf balls, maybe knock $5 off for a dozen, a box or something, and if we can do that and still make some money.
Right.
So I think those are some of the real things, and as we move this pro shop downstairs, I think it'll help us keep track of who's on the course and who's not on the course.
Absolutely.
And who's paid and who hasn't paid, because I know there's times when I see people come right out of the parking lot and go right over there and get a golf cart and go.
Yeah, I have a lot of times I have no idea who's teeing off, and it's like we're lost being upstairs.
I think it's good ideas. I think we'll do a good job, a much better job up there with that thing downstairs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's.
And what do you think you need? Well, it's too soon to tell. What you think you need by way of capital improvements in the golf shop? Probably not much of anything anyway. Ballroom and things. There's some stuff.
The pro shop side of it, which I'm pretty much investigating now, is the biggest thing is going to be the point of sale. But with that thing with Golf Now, they also provide us a point of sale. So either the pro shop or the restaurant is going to need a new point of sale. And I think that's going to be our major purchase, because everything else we got labor-wise and everything taken care of. Flooring, if we do that, it's going to be
The one thing that's been on the list for a number of years is improving the doors and making them more accessible, particularly in the lobby. Is that part of what you would be looking at also?
the breezeway. We need to make the breezeway with the push-button handicap doors.
Yeah.
And when we decide to do that, that'll come out of half pro shop, half restaurant.
Okay.
Because they both kind of share it.
And
Is
I
that
think,
considered a capital improvement?
Yeah, those are capital improvements.
Yes, that would be a capital improvement.
Okay.
and same with it, I don't think we need a walk-in cooler. I think we need some upright freezers. I think they're much more, they freeze faster. Secondly, you don't have the wasted space. You don't have people having to walk in, and pretty soon, I've had walk-ins, so I know walk-in freezers, and he ends up, the aisle usually gets plugged up with stuff because people don't want to reach up to that top shelf and put it on. And an 8x8, if you're talking 2 feet on each side, you're talking the deal in the middle, the row in the middle is roughly 4 feet. And so that you lose all that space, really, is what it is. So you can buy 2 of those units, and you can put a whole beef in one of those units. I had them, and you could put 800 pounds of hamburger and freeze it in 12 hours.
Yeah,
So you put 2 of those at $4,000 a piece is a long ways from 30,000.
since we don't have a restaurant manager right now, we're probably just going to put a number in the capital improvements for that, but
Yep.
then we can decide later
Right.
on what we're going to do.
Okay,
Because no matter what, when we get to the restaurant part,
right.
we'll figure that out.
Have we interviewed any of those applicants that we had a couple of them, or?
We've had one interview so far and a walkthrough, and we're still looking at more.
Okay. All right.
Ken?
Late, didn't get a speeding ticket from Rogers, so I'm here, but I missed your first comments, but one of the things I like about our pro shop, whether it's upstairs or downstairs, is that people are made to feel welcome. And I know you do that, and other staff has done that, but our golf course is a good one, but I think the people that have come here and play, whether they buy anything in the pro shop or not, I think they leave with a feeling about how they're treated. And I would like to see us continue with a welcoming kind of atmosphere, which I know you will do. And then when we get a restaurant going, that's going to be even better. But I missed the part about the price of goods, but I think I agree with Doug. I think we're a little high on some of the things. I go with my son around the country, and I don't play, but I go with him, and we're a little high compared to some of the community golf courses. But anyway, I think it'll all work out. I think also what a lot of the Holiday Island residents want is the logo, Holiday Island, on the shirt. And I've been asked several times, where's Holiday Island? I'm over in Bentonville or wherever. You know, some of the people over there don't know about it. And if we can use that as an advertising idea, that'll help us too with
Right.
sale.
I would say 75% of our shirts do have our logo on it. I do have some shirts that do not have any logo on them at all.
Right.
But what shirts we do order or get in, they will have the Holiday Island logo on them.
Good. Okay.
And as far as making folks feel welcome, that's going to be one of the top priorities of anybody that works. They will have an upbeat attitude, greet, make people enjoy what they're doing here.
Thank you.
Well, you have a good staff.
Does
Yes.
anybody else have
do.
questions for Mark?
Date for the pro shop to move downstairs? Do we have that date yet?
We're gonna start, we just talked about that today. We're gonna definitely start working on that before the first of the year. High priority right now is gonna be getting flooring down. And then once we get the flooring down, then we can start taking apart.
Has there been any conversation on tournaments? In the previous past, there were a lot of tournaments, but that looks like that's fallen off over the years.
And once we get a golf pro down there and that position completely established, that is gonna be part of their job, is making sure we way overdo what we had in tournaments before. But like I said, Mark is a part-timer, so once we get a full-time position in there, we will start working on that.
And I have talked to a crew of guys about helping move that pro shop, and I think we can get that moved, that pro shop in one, probably one morning. We can move all the stuff down there, and that'll leave a lot more room. But I do think we need to, well, it's capital improvements, but I think we need to take that carpet out of there and put in a floor that we can sweep. And we can, just put in a laminated floor and
Yeah,
be
I'm
done with
planning
it.
on doing a vinyl planking
Okay,
that's gonna hold up to the cleats and everything else.
all right.
The most of the work, once we get the pro shop moved, a lot of the work is gonna be involved with patching of the holes that the boards were screwed to up in the restaurant part, and then repainting of that, which I have part-time employees that will help out with that too.
Yeah, you have a good crew.
Okay.
Pro shop moving downstairs, let's call it January 1, needing a POS system for either restaurant or downstairs, and the changes that are going to happen, you expect the restaurant side to be closed?
I would prefer that the restaurant side of it is closed, that way we're not trying to work around people trying to eat their breakfast.
That's only a few days. I mean, or however long it takes, a week.
Mark, I don't
Close for
believe
6
there's any
weeks
other
now, it's-
questions for you. What I'd like you to do, though, is put together some sort of a little sale thing that you can give to Carrie, that it can be published in the weekly newsletter, that you're having a sale, so everybody in Holiday Island knows you're trying to reduce inventory at the pro shop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, Mark, thanks.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mark.
Thank you.
Mark.
Next employee will be Tyler with golf maintenance.
Good morning. Introduce yourself.
Tyler Scroggins started as an assistant up on the golf course 8 years ago. This will be now to start my 4th year as golf course superintendent. Volunteer firefighter for 7 years now. So I have been active in community and helping out with a lot of things.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or in our budget that we're going to approve next Monday, I believe, we're talking about a lot of different things, including capital items. In your opinion, and when you talk to the district manager, what is your most pressing need right now? I know we talked about, and we're ordering the greens mower one. What other things are you looking at that are on your mind?
I think about the only other thing that's on my mind is irrigation. I could scare you with the full renovation, but at this point, I think my main lines are good. I've replaced a lot of my greens heads because that's what we have to really concentrate on, and the tee boxes. There's a couple wiring issues with that. It's mainly my fairway heads that I just need to be replaced. I order a couple every year, whichever ones are broke, and we can get out there and we fix them. What we have is from the main line coming to the sprinkler head is a galvanized pipe, and galvanized, whenever it's in the ground for a long amount of times, it will erode and it causes little pinhole leaks. At this point, if I do have to dig a head up and replace it, I dig all the way down, pull that out, put PVC in, so then I know I'm not going to have to dig it up 2-3 months later if it does get a leak.
What's your idea, Tyler, on if we take the whole course and put lines down the sides, water all the fairways with all brand-new stuff, it'll save many, many hours of labor. And I think that's one of the big things that's on our agenda to do the whole 18 holes and put new sprinkler heads on. Use the heads that are good, we got,
Yep.
but do new main lines because we're always having leaks out there. And you guys are spending many, many hours. Half of your time, I'll bet you, goes into leaks, doesn't it?
Whenever I have the time, yes, leaks.
Right, when you have time to
yeah,
fix them.
Whenever I'm not watering greens, so wintertime, or not wintertime, in summertime, it's really tough for me to say, I'm gonna turn the irrigation off, and I hope I can get this thing fixed in one day.
That's why I say
I
if we
can't
put
water,
all-
if I turn the water off my greens, I don't wanna sacrifice losing
Right.
any of my greens.
But if we
so-
put all new water lines in, it
Yep.
would save many,
Oh.
many hours.
Especially in fairways and tee.
That's right.
uh,
Tee boxes,
fixing,
fairways. So I think that's, and we can put plastic in there.
PVC,
And
yeah.
PVC, I
Yeah.
mean, we could put, a PVC in there, and it would make much more sense. And I think long-term is, it'll make your job a ton easier. And secondly, it'll make our course more attractive because we can overseed the fairways then, grow new grass, and people will not be hitting off of dirt all the time. And we won't be hearing all these complaints about no grass because we know that just the grass you just put in, if you water it and got dirt, it grows, because you can see,
It grows because it's a cool season grass, but in the
Yeah.
summertime, it's gonna burn out because
well,
it's.
but if you water, it's not gonna burn out. Every time it rains, it greens up.
That's, what was that?
Tyler,
1.6?
Tyler, you quoted a number last week. Is that what you're talking about? What was included in that number? I heard a number of 55,000 or something.
The rough number, I called Rainbird and Toro, because they're the two leading competitors around here, for just fairway heads and swing joints. Rainbird for 115 heads for the 18-hole course, it was 57,000. Toro was closer to 45,000. And those numbers could come down because they said if we order in bulk, then they would readjust those numbers. The numbers that I got were just one head, one swing joint. So that was going to be the highest number, and from there it's going to.
Is our main lines any good? We don't have
Our main lines are perfectly fine because they're PVC.
Are they on both sides of the fairway?
No, they're
Or
right
just
down the middle.
Down the middle,
Yeah,
but
what you see on the outer edge is before my previous boss, I think it was Mark Mallory, he installed rough irrigation out there, and it was not installed properly. I don't know if it was due to the terrain, but I know whenever I fix heads, the water lines are only about 6 inches below the ground, which they need to be a little deeper. And a lot of that stuff, any of the golfers in here, if you're on number 7, the left and right side of number 7 have rough irrigation. It's all rock because it's all trees. So if there is a way where we can do a renovation, I know it's a big number and a pretty scary number, but if we do go down the edge of the fairways where we can throw into the fairways and the rough, that would relieve having only fairway heads and only rough heads is what.
Correct,
what's up there.
and secondly, it's gonna save us many, many dollars a year just in labor costs of you having to hire extra people to do help out, and, because I mean, I see you out there all the time. I mean, you guys it's 2 guys are working to get these holes filled, and then it sits there, and then you gotta reseed the grass and re-put the grass in, and it takes a lot of dollars. So if we free up that time of yours by putting all this new stuff in, that's gonna save us, how many hours a day would you say you average working on heads and water systems?
Per day, I don't have that number
Well,
because
just give me
I'm so short-staffed
week.
that each day I have to pick and choose what is the most important. And having a hole sit open out there in the rough isn't as important as getting stuff sprayed around the greens and the fairways, fertilized. I'd
But if
say
you had to help, what would it save?
if I had the help to do the irrigation,
Yeah.
to be an irrigation tech,
No, but just to fix all this
just
stuff.
to fix all this stuff,
Yeah, as it's going.
would
How
save
many hours
me-
a month or a year?
a month, it would probably save me probably 15 to 20 hours a month working on irrigation.
But I mean to do it right, where we just dig a hole, pull everything out, put it back together. Does that take a whole day for 2 people?
It depends on what the problem is with it.
Okay, but I mean, just the
So-
average, I
So
know.
I can't say if it is 2 people's job, if it's a wire nut that has come off because it's old, or if it's an actual break in the line that we have to dig up and dig farther back and stuff like that.
I know that there's places that the lines are leaking in different places, just not at the heads, because you see that but if we did that new system, it would certainly, the big thing with, I think, golf courses is your golf course has to be attractive. If it's not attractive, you don't get the play that you should get. And our golf course is a great golf course if it just had some grass in the fairways. And we just don't have grass, but I've heard them say, oh, we don't have dirt. Well, water and fertilizer and we can haul in some dirt in those bare spots because we did it and you can see what happens. A lot of those bare spots need to be covered, but I think appearance of our golf course is the most important thing that our golf course can do. And I don't care what anybody says, when you have grass that stands up this high and you can hit the ball, that's a lot better than hitting off of cement.
So I just want to throw this out there. I know you talked about overseeding in the wintertime. To me, I would not want to waste the seed to overseed the fairways in the wintertime because have Mark run numbers on how much money do we get in the wintertime? Are we really bringing in a bunch of money in the wintertime to say, let's throw this seed out there, let's water it, and then we have to mow it? If we're growing ryegrass seed in the wintertime, we're going to have to mow it, and then what happens whenever it dips down into the negatives and
Well,
my lines
if we aren't
freezing?
fixing lines, then we have time to mow.
The wintertime, whenever the water gets turned off?
Well, no, but we don't have to water. I say the main thing is overseeding, is to get the grass ready for spring. And if that does it in the spring, we do it in the spring. If that does it in the fall, we probably should have I did a lot more in the fall, seeding grass so the grass grows, and that's all you need to do.
Tyler, I want to move forward on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
I have one quick question.
Okay.
Drop that big number on us.
The big number
The
for the
big number.
full renovation?
Yes, sir, because that's what we're wanting.
I will get that number for you, but I will tell you that it is probably up towards the $1 million range.
That would have been my guess, thank you.
And
That's
Ty-
close
Tyler,
enough for me.
what will 54,000 do for you?
That will get me all the fairway heads and swing joints that I would need to get heads in the ground.
And how will that improve the golf course itself?
I would be able to water the fairways, especially the bare spots, because we're going through trying to get those filled in. It's a process, but
And if
I'd
you-
be able to water efficiently, because right now I've got heads that they're old impact heads. So it's a single nozzle that is moved by the water pressure, and then I got old heads that are gear driven, and they have a front nozzle and a tail nozzle. So they're throwing out different amounts of water. If I turn on 10 minutes for a station that has two heads, they're two different brands, they're putting out different water also.
Can this all be done in-house?
It would take a little more time in-house, just because I just have such a small staff. But if we got the heads, we could start whenever we can. It's just up to you. If you guys want to, if you want me to do it in-house, then I'll start doing it in-house. If you want it done, it'd probably take about a month or less for, to bid it out and have somebody come in here and they'd open up each fairway head. We'd have the water turned off. They'd go through and do pretty much a fairway or two at a time.
Well, I suggest you get a labor number to do that, and we
Okay.
can compare it.
I can do that.
Don't you think?
Let me
we
ask
oughta
you this, will buying all these new heads save water?
The new heads.
Are they more efficient than
they're-
what
they're
we
more
have
efficient.
now?
Yes, they're more efficient than the 40, 45-year-old heads that I have in the ground.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have a plan, maybe, and I think we should have a plan, to do one fairway at least a year with new lines going down both sides so that we can cover the whole fairway? And I think that should be in our plan, and if it maybe one or two fairways a year. Because not watering, I mean, I play air every day almost, and we have no grass, and I don't care how good a player you are, you miss that ball 1 millimeter and it doesn't go right. So you need grass. You cannot have bare cement to hit off of. And that's the biggest complaint I hear with people that come to our course and said, your greens are great. Your fairways are like cow pastures. And they are.
Tyler, in getting back to the budget,
Okay.
what I noticed, and one of the reasons why you're here is you had a significant increase in the amount of chemicals and fertilizer you purchased as opposed to what you had in your budget. And you exceeded that by $8,000 or $9,000, and I guess I'm asking why.
That's because the prices have gone up from last year.
Okay?
They just kind of threw a number out saying, this is how much I think it's going to go up. And then that was what the budget was. And the prices for the chemical and fertilizer actually went up higher than what.
Are
we
you
kinda
buying
expected.
all the chemical and fertilizer at one time in bulk?
Yes. What I
Okay.
do is I go through in the fall, I count how much fertilizer I have left over in my shed, how much chemicals left over in my shed. I get with my chem rep, and he says, okay, I say, look, we got this many bags of fertilizer. He goes, okay, then you only need this much. He's not trying to oversell me. He comes up with a number of, this is how much it'll be if you put out this rate, because this is the rate that you should be putting out on the fairways, and he will sell me that many bags of fertilizer.
Do we know if he's giving us the best price? I mean, do you compare numbers with other
Well,
chemical companies?
With the chemical that I buy, it's from a company named Syngenta. The people that I buy it from sell Syngenta products. I've talked to another chem rep, and he says they have stuff that they make, but I would just be weary of it might be the same active ingredient, but the other stuff that's in that product might not be as good as Syngenta, which is a top name in the golf course industry.
Is it
Okay.
quite a little cheaper?
I can get a number on it, but
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe,
I
you know,
will,
if
I will
you.
put it out there and say, if we go with the cheapest chemical that I don't feel comfortable with, that I haven't sprayed, I don't know if I want to put my name on saying,
Well,
I know
well,
that this is
you
going to work
Certainly
perfect.
could try.
Tyler, I want you to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
At $90,000 a year, I want to ensure that we're getting the best price we can. And if your rep, if you can get him down some on the cost, so be it. But
Yep.
when you're spending $90,000 on chemicals, I want to be sure that we're getting the lowest price we can. That's a significant amount of money.
So, real quick, on Tyler's behalf, the sand that he orders was, we thought, kind of high price. So he went out, found a better deal on sand, but then by the time they got done with the trucking, it was a wash. So we need to stay with the reps that treat us right and work with us right, because sometimes going out and exploring things isn't always the best option, so.
Well, I would guess also that you get sales calls from reps all the time.
We're kind of out here in the middle of nowhere.
So you don't get a lot
and
of
I
that.
get
Okay.
maybe 2 people
Okay.
that actually call me and they want to know I'm here before they drive out here to see if I'm
Okay.
not here, so.
So not
But
a big.
whenever I talk to,
not
I
a-
I use Greens Pro, I call around to all these other golf courses, people over in Fayetteville that I don't know, they say I use Greens Pro. So it's a big name around here that sells chemical and fertilizer, and whenever I talk to my chemical rep, I say, this is what my budget is. So he goes, okay, I'm gonna try to make a spray sheet for the whole year for spraying greens, fairways, tees, spreading fertilizer on greens, tees, and fairways, and he comes up within my budget. I know last year it went over a little bit because the price went up, but he is in contact with me with a lot whenever it comes to early order and trying to figure out what we have and trying to stay close to our budget.
Okay.
Well, I have one other thing, and we have a grub problem there, and you should be treating. I mean, they made the course look terrible, those grubs, because the animals were digging them up.
Yep.
We need to treat for grubs, and I mean, that is a must this next year. I mean, your fairway, or not
I've already
fairways,
talked
but,
about it with my chem rep, and we're working that in without going over the
because that
budget.
looks hideous.
So,
And that makes your golf course look bad on every tee box, that you have to find a place that, I mean, there's places, I've been there when guys hit golf balls, they go in those holes, and you can't even find them.
yep, I know. And I would have,
And that's
I would have
because we
sprayed
didn't
this
treat.
fall, but I didn't have any chemical budget left. So that's why it got
Well, we
torn up
can't,
this
that's, I'd be top priority if I was running the course.
I have a question, Tyler, on
Yes.
tree removal and
Yes.
planting new trees.
Yep.
I know on number 7, a week or so ago, your crew was out there. How many are you taking down yourself, which is a big job, and how many do you contract out to Eagle
I
Rock?
think on the tree list, we have, I want to say roughly 10 to 15 dead trees that were taken out or trees that were limbing up. And I think I have about 5 that I don't feel safe that Eagle Rock will come in February and cut down, then we'll do the cleanup process.
Okay. Does he give us a good price on it?
He cuts us a better deal than the homeowners get. I know that because he's out there, and whenever he gives me that bill, I am shocked. that
And then how
he-
about replacing them? I know our church had to put some new trees in, and it's very expensive, even buying local here. But do you order a new tree for everyone that's taken out, or what?
Not everyone I take out. I do talk to Bear Creek, and I try to order some medium-sized, like flowering trees. The drought the past 2 years has just put a hammer on some of those new trees I planted. I think maybe half of them have survived, but I still plant probably roughly 6 to 10 a year, depending on the price and how big the trees are that I buy.
Okay.
And I try to find better places for them, because there's some trees that are just really tight together, and I don't want to go put a tree close back to where I cut a tree out.
Yeah.
If I can move it out where it can actually grow into a normal shape.
And the flowering trees make your course more attractive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you put them kind of around the greens, but not too close where they're going to shade the green, it brings a lot of color and character to the golf course.
And also adds a lot of character to it.
Yes.
Last question, Chair, and that is your staff. During the winter, you're not doing as much as during the summer, mowing and grass growing and greens and everything. Do you keep the same staff on all winter, and how are you feeling about staff?
There's some seasonal guys that they don't really like the cold weather, and they're the ones that mainly mow the greens, do stuff like that. So I have laid off a few guys because they've chosen it. It's been great, but I also have 2 part-timers that I keep on. A lot of people probably know Wes. He's out there, the one that's mowing rough a lot. Right now, he's going to be transferring into stump grinding because we got a stump grinder that we can grind the stumps in-house. And my other seasonal guy is helping us cut trees down. He's the one out there blowing greens off in the morning whenever they're thawed out, so then we can mow and roll them. He's more one of the grunt workers, where he's the one that's picking up the limbs to put in the chipper. So we're the ones that cutting the
Good.
tree down, logging it up.
How about the interns, Tyler? What is the status?
I haven't had any luck lately with the interns. That school that we normally go up to talk to about interns, they've become so large that I didn't even go up to the actual career fair this year because all the kids up there, they get big name schools showing up now to try to pick them up.
How about Harrison?
What I got now is Jason, my full-time guy at the 9-hole course. He's almost done taking his classes over in Harrison for his turf school. So right now he's still considered an apprentice, but I think he has this summer, and he'll still be considered an intern. So at the end of the summer, I'll call over there. It's a little different where everybody over in Harrison at that turf school is more looking for a full-time job. They're not. The kids up there at that school in Missouri it's kind of like a classic college where you go there for the wintertime, summertime, you're working as an intern. Over at Harrison, I think they're older, they're in the turf industry, they're getting their degree, but they can do it online. So they can come over here, they can work, they can go wherever, work at the golf course full time, and then do their classes after work. So, but we do have Jason that is part of that class, so I'm going to start hammering Harrison more now and probably drop off of Missouri.
I have another question. What's your policy on employees texting all the time? I mean, I see him out there for, that one day, one guy was following us. He was picking up sticks.
Yep.
And I go back and I said, if you need to, are you moving the cups or what? Go ahead of us. I mean, we're playing. No, he said, I'm picking up sticks. And I looked in the back, and there wasn't one stick, but he'd been there. He followed us for 3 holes, and all he was doing was texting. So he went over to number 6. We were on number 2. He went over to number 6. We got to number 6. He was still there texting.
Yeah. Well,
So, I mean, I
know
think
it's an
you ought to
issue,
have a policy that
and
you don't allow
I talked
texting.
to him. I talked to him, but I can't hold people's hand all day.
No, I
It's a golf
understand
course.
that.
I have to send them off, and I have to trust them. If I see it, then I
Are you
I talk to
getting
them
a
about it.
sheet from them
So-
for what they do every day?
No.
Or do you question what
Yep.
work they've got done?
I ask what all they got done.
And do they honestly tell you?
Majority of the time they do.
Do you
But
tell?
I'm not
do
going
you
to
tell
drive
them
around
that
and go
if-
check 15 to
Have you
see if
told
sticks
them
were picked up.
that there's no texting during work hours?
Tyler, let's get back to the budget.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have questions for Tyler
That
concerning
concerns the budget.
budget?
It's expenses we're putting out.
I'll get some numbers for irrigation heads. And-
Let's go back to that one. If you had the 55 grand,
Yep.
would you be able to maintain and water everything that is necessary?
For me, I think tees, fairways, and greens are necessary.
I think at one time I saw you had a control head that needs to be replaced as well. Is that accurate?
The irrigation,
The clock or whatever, the control
the
piece?
actual irrigation boxes out there, I keep those going by replacing parts.
Okay.
In it. I know at one point I asked for a centralized computer that would turn on the irrigation, and it would keep track of how much pressure I had, and it would turn heads on and off from a centralized computer. Right now, I go to each irrigation box, I say, turn on at this time, and it'll run for 20 minutes, and then I got to go to the next box and figure out timing to make sure I'm not watering too much and draining my dry well down where it'll trip the pump. So a computerized system would say, we're running too much water, let's back off this head, and it'll turn the head off. We can run more water, it would turn other heads on. You could speed up, slow down the watering overnight.
But if you installed the $54,000 worth of the equipment, will it make it so that your job is easier and most everything gets watered?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at is for 55 grand,
Yep.
everything can have water.
Yep.
Okay,
The fairways can have water, yes.
What is that
as opposed to
computer
$1 million
system cost?
bucks.
Yes, if I can get some new sprinkler heads for less than $1 million, yes, please.
What
Okay.
is if we put in that system that you're talking about with the computers on your watering, What would, do you have an idea what that would run?
I can get new numbers. My
I
numbers,
think
my
that'd be,
numbers
I
are
think
5
that'd be
years
money
old.
well spent.
My numbers are 5 years old, and I think it
Yeah,
was.
you
it was
know,
gonna-
they're nil and void.
Yeah, but I can call. I've done this over and over where it's tough for me to call up my reps and say, hey, can you put a lot of work into this?
And then do
And then
nothing.
do nothing. So that's
Yeah.
why with this, I called for the irrigation heads. I said, just give me for one head and one swing joint, and then I'll let them know that on bulk orders, there's a discount. And then if you guys do want to pursue, like you want more numbers, I will call them and we'll get
Okay.
more numbers. So.
Does anybody else have questions for Tyler?
The cart paths.
Yes.
You have a good crew up there. They didn't need me, I guess I'm not a good worker, but they put in patches to the cart paths.
Yep.
You know who they are. And what is the, some of them are really bad, mainly because of roots, right?
Yes.
We got these huge trees right next to number 3, for instance, and the roots will pop that stuff up, even if it's new. But where are we on, and that's very expensive. I think it was about 4 years ago, we spent $70,000 on cart paths repair, or new cart paths. Where are we on that, and what's the situation?
I don't have anything in line for that. HIMGA guys, they took it upon themselves to go out there and patch some of the cart paths. I went out and I marked them, and then some of my guys also got some cold patch from the road department. And did a
Could we
little
do
work.
that again?
Yeah, if there's some bad spots, we can get some more cold patch and go out there and do that. That's probably a 1 to 2 day job, just driving around doing that. So,
I know on hole number 14 down there on the tee box that they use, the one by the lake.
yeah, the cart path on the right side. Yeah.
Well, not the cart path on the right, so right behind the tee box, there's a hole about like this.
Yep.
You drive through it and your cart about throws you out of the cart. That might be somewhere we want to get fixed.
Yep.
Any other questions for Tyler? Tyler, thanks for coming. You've answered a lot of questions. Thank you. Rich, who's,
Keep up the good work.
Next, we will call Mike for roads.
oh, good.
Mike Barnett with the road department. I've been there 3.5 years, and if you have any questions, feel
Sure.
free to ask.
Mike, I talked to you a couple of days ago, and you said you have some streets in mind for paving that could be done this year.
Yeah, we've had.
Can you shed some light on what you have in mind and the costs?
Well, there's 2 short streets, which it doesn't amount to a whole lot, but it's probably, they're just a little less than 1,000 foot, both of them. One's Rocky Top Lane, and one is Pivot Rock Road over here on the other side of Table Rock. And I've got bids on, one bid on them right now. I should be receiving another bid probably this week, and I'm gonna try to get another one on that job, on them jobs there. And I'm getting it for chip and seal and asphalt, either way. So you can make a decision if you want to just asphalt it or chip and seal.
When you do a chip and seal and we get a bid from a company, how much prep work do they do before they do the chip and seal? Is that incumbent on them or is that incumbent on us?
Well, I usually strip them and sweep them anyhow beforehand, just to make sure they're done right.
Okay,
Make sure they're stripped, because sometimes there's a 6-inch edge, sometimes there's a 2-inch edge on the side of the road where the water won't run off.
so that's not included in their pricing.
Well, I mean, sometimes I think it might be, but, it depends on how you get it bid, but I strip them all the time.
Okay.
I'm stripping them and sweeping them a majority of the year, off and on.
How confident do you feel you're all set for winter as far as chemicals and manpower and vehicles?
I'm good on all that. I mean, we've got 80 ton of chips, and we've got about 7,500 gallons of brine that's mixed with beet juice, and I have 5 trucks the plows. Plus the one in golf, we have one at golf too, they plow up top.
And I've heard some conversations that you're sitting on a bunch of asphalt that we can't use on the roads. Is that accurate? It was cold packed that we're not supposed to use or something to that effect?
No, I don't have anything like that.
Because they're saying we could use it on the cart paths.
No, we don't have, we have new.
Okay, we don't have any old inventory of cold patch that we can't
Cold
use.
patch isn't any good. If it loses, we use it all up.
Okay.
We don't let it set.
Well, it was my understanding, we have a pile of it that you can't use, but it could be used on the cart paths.
No, you don't want to use anything that's old anyhow.
Okay.
We have brand new stuff. I got a load today, so.
Do you have a heater that heats that?
No, we don't.
Do you ever get to the state sales, or, I mean, the city I was involved with, we bought from the state on their state sales, we bought those, machines that, you pull behind your pickup, and it heats up, it's a box, you heat up that asphalt, and then you can reuse it when that cold patch. Because back in Nebraska, when in the wintertime, when it gets 30 below zero, your holes get big if you don't do something with it, but you gotta have hot. I just wondered, does the state ever have sales like that you?
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't use it.
You
I
don't?
mean, we go through cold patch so quick that it don't sit there very long.
Yeah. Do you have a roller that, when you do patch, that you roll?
We use the truck, roll it in.
Would it be advantageous to have a small roller?
Probably on the asphalt, it might help.
I think it would get you a lot smoother surface than where you have to cross the road with because I just coming up here from my house to the office here, there's a lot of places where we went across the road and you can, it definitely is not smooth when you cross it.
No, it's not gonna be smooth. It's a patch.
Well, I understand that because it's gonna move all the time, but if you have a roller, would that help pack that?
I think it'd still sink, because what's underneath the road, what they started with here is just not adequate.
Not good.
No. I mean, our
So
chip
that
and
roller is
seal,
really not gonna help you, or it is gonna help you?
it might make it smoother on the asphalt. I mean, it's not gonna do any good to take that roller out there every cut we do, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time. I mean, you're not gonna be able to tell any difference on chip and seal.
Okay, that was a question I needed to ask.
Question, Randy, what do you need?
I guess I'm asking, do other commissioners have some questions of Mike?
Mike, I'm the one that's been harping a little bit about paving, and it seems like a couple of years ago, we didn't take a vote on it, but it seemed like the consensus was that chip and seal just wasn't working, But if if that's what this board feels and what you recommend on certain streets, that'd be fine. But in these two 1,000-foot streets, that's a pretty small job. And the mayor's here, and we've had, a couple of years ago, we had the grant from the state that we did State Line and Hawk. And the company came from Little Rock, I think it was, Mr. Mayor. And so are you, if we approved X dollars for those two short streets, do you think you can get somebody to bid on that smaller job, is what I'm asking?
I've had the bids. I've got one bid already, and I'm gonna get another one this week for these two small jobs.
Okay.
Which I have one bid with me today, which asphalt's about 100,000 for both of them.
Okay.
And then your chip and seal's gonna be about 60. But
Okay.
one of the roads has to be ditch cut down one side and rebased, which
Okay.
is Pivot Rock Road. Because never really had any base on the very far end.
Yeah, I think the last time, like Pleasant Ridge was done, the vendors said that we had to make them smooth before they came in, put blacktop down, your crew. Is that what you understand from a bid?
No, we don't do any of that.
Because there were a lot of dips in that street, Pleasant Ridge,
Yeah.
But, so I think we need to make it smooth before we put down product that we pay quite a bit for, don't you?
They're gonna put it down. The bid's that's complete.
Okay. Mike, you had a couple of bids for those two short streets at roughly 100,000.
For asphalt.
Right.
Chip and seal's around
And I'm fine with the
But
asphalt.
I just have the one bid right now. I'll have maybe two more. You know.
My question is, if you had a $200,000 budget, what would you do with that? You could obviously get done can you come up with something else that we could keep going forward? And I guess I'm impressed that you're only gonna spend $100,000, and if we budget $200,000, how much more, or what other street could you do?
Well, I think Rich and me discussed this, and we decided the 100,000, we just was gonna try to keep it down to 100,000 this year.
Well, okay, that's fine.
Good. I guess I'm
I
the
have
one that
put in-
mentioned.
Yeah, Ken's the one that brought up 200,000.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, I put in for 250,
A year or two ago.
275,000
Sorry. But
every year, but
Don't even
nobody
interrupt
is.
you because I can't hear very well, but a year or two ago, we had Danube, and I think it was Oak that needed to be
That
done.
whole section between Table Rock to Lower Table Rock,
Yeah.
state line, that whole section, I had it bid.
Oh,
I mean, I had it, how many miles and how much it was gonna be around approximately. I had that bid twice, as far as,
yeah,
you know, had it ready to bid, but nobody wanted
yeah.
to do them, so we didn't do them.
That's, I'm wondering if you had 4 streets, and like the chair said, 200,000, you'd get somebody to bid, more bidders, and bring their equipment in here. It would seem to me to make more sense for them economically to do 200,000 and bring their equipment in with their crews instead of 100,000.
Well, the more you do, the bigger companies you're gonna get.
Well,
better
we're
price
going
you're
to
gonna
approve the
get.
budget next Monday, I think, the 16th of December, getting close to Christmas. Rich, we're going to make a decision. I know we can't vote today, but are we going to do 100,000, put it in the
Well,
budget?
that's a capital improvement, and
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily need to be in the budget.
So I think what Randy's asking you, Mike, is if you got $200,000 in capital improvements, could you spend that money on roads?
I could spend,
You spend $1 million, right?
yeah, our roads are,
That was
some
kind
of
of
them
my,
are falling apart.
that was
out of-
kind of my question, Mike, is what's on your wish list? If you, you know, and
Well, the more we
without
ch-
going
The
crazy.
more we chip and seal, the less coal patch we use.
Say that again?
The more we chip and seal, the less coal patch we use, because the roads are falling apart and we're coal patching and coal patching and coal patching. Not just the cuts.
So you would rather chip and seal than do asphalt?
Well, the chip and seal roads, yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to chip and seal them. I don't, you know, it depends on where it's at and how many people's down that road exactly, and is there asphalt that's hooked to them? You know, the reason I got asphalt bids this time was because Rocky Top, it's connected to Rocky Top Circle, and it's asphalt. So I thought, well, if we asphalt that, we wouldn't have to worry about it for 20 years. You know, so
Well,
that's why.
I would say this. You're the expert, we're not. And we're relying on your expertise and your advice to make the right decision. None of us know the roads like you do.
Can you hear me now? It's on.
Yeah, a little sticker.
Guys, you know, we did a lot of chip and seal, and, you know, the roads, the problem with the roads is on asphalt, is that it cracks, and once you get water started in there and it erodes your road, that's what he's talking about. It gets underneath there, and then pretty soon your asphalt comes up. When you seal that every year, we used to do a certain section of town every year. We'd chip and seal those, and believe me, it makes your roads a lot more durable, and you don't have near the problem with patching, like you said. That chip and seal will save you a lot of patching.
Mr. Chair, I have another question on roads. We had a workshop here Saturday for several hours and had a good one, and we talked about forward planning. In other words, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan possibly. We haven't paved for 3 years. So if we did 200,000 this year and those streets that you just mentioned, I'd like to see us every year do some, you know. And I heard my colleagues talk about CIP, capital, you know. Another thing I was wondering about capital goods, and I talked to Rich about it, is what's called a giraffe. I didn't know what it was called. It's an odd name. It's the big saw, the circular saw, it goes up 40 feet in the air. We've got a lot of roads that have trees hanging over them, Eagle being one of them. And your guys just took a tree off the road the other day, maybe a week or two ago. I was passing by and one fell down behind me, went right across the road. Another day, on a Sunday, we had one in front of me that we had all the people going to the two churches over here, and all these old people are making three-point turns, you know. So, Rich said that we have one, but it's not operating right, and it may be unsafe. Is it, and Rich, I guess that's a question for you too. Could we rent one? Are we going to buy one? Could we fix the one we have? Because I think it's a real danger and a liability problem.
And that's a good point. I was going to bring that up just before you said it. And he has two bids, and there's
I have 3 bids on that.
3 bids. So it's a
Already.
Versa Boom mower. The one he has now, which he'll give you details on it, it's a 1992,
1989.
1989. And it's, I mean, I would be more than happy to take any commissioner down there and sit in it. Well, first of all, you'd probably break your neck just trying to get in it. So,
It's 2-wheel drive and the dash is just crumbling. There's no lights. You know,
So should we be looking at, should we be looking at a new one then if it's totally unreliable to one we have? Or just use your coaching voice, Mike. We can hear you.
well, it's a 1989 and there's no brakes, very good brakes on it. It's 2-wheel drive. You know, it's got a big concrete barrel on one backside to keep it from flipping over. I mean, it's just obsolete. It's dangerous. I don't put anybody in it except me.
Okay.
I don't.
I understand. I don't want anybody to get
Yeah.
hurt. But I see one over by the tower by the Elks Lodge. Is that Carroll Electric? And there's another one. There's a couple of them on site here in Holiday Island.
I'm not sure they're Carroll Electrics, I think. I mean, I've got 3 bids and I've talked with Washington County about what they use, and I've talked with Stone County, what they use, and I've got bids on New Holland, John Deere, and another brand. But
Is there any equipment, that's used, that's fairly new, that gets on the market ever? That we could maybe buy any used equipment?
no, there's no equipment.
Mostly it's wore out before you get rid of it, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's wore out. I've got 2 tractors that's gonna need replaced in about 2 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's, the main thing I need right now is that VersaBoom. That is the most important thing right now. And I think that's part of the reason we kept the bid down to 100,000 on road jobs, you know, different projects.
Well, and that makes sense. If you're gonna need money for a VersaBoom, that money has to come from somewhere.
They're 170,000.
Ouch.
So that's actually the one that I prefer. I mean, there's different bids, there's some less, but that is the one that I think that's gonna last the longest for HICID.
And it's 170,000.
It's 170,000.
So,
And it takes 9 months to get that.
Are they custom built, each one?
The cutter, the VersaBoom put on, yeah. The tractor, you order the tractor, you have another company come in to their facility, you put the cutter on.
Okay, I understand.
And you can't lease them, you know, because they don't like leasing them.
Well, we've talked about leases and we're not a fan.
I mean,
of
leasing is just,
It's giving somebody else
it's
the
for
money.
somebody else, but not us.
Right, okay.
It's like our tractor. I tried to get them not to do that, the backhoe. And they said it looked better on paper, is what I was told, but
I looked at it this morning on paper. It didn't look all that good to me.
looked like it was kind of high.
It looked like, to me, in the end, we paid we will have paid $145,000 if we take the $55,000 buyout option at the end of the lease.
Yeah.
But the lease itself was $94,000. So I don't know if that was such a good deal. I think we'd have been better off to just buy it outright.
Yeah, I thought it was more than that because the numbers I got was more than that even. But I know it was quite a bit.
I wrote it down here this morning. Well, anyway, it was a
Yeah.
significant amount of money, and I
Yeah,
don't see
it
that
was
we
too
saved
much to be-
anything by leasing it.
Yeah. You don't save any.
Mike, if I can ask one other question, maybe Rich said it and I didn't hear quite what was said there, on right-of-way mowers, rights-of-way, however you say that, on the side of the road, how are we doing on that as far as equipment and the manpower to get that done?
That's the two tractors that I said that's gonna be, need to replace in 2 years.
Yeah, okay,
They'll coming up 20 years,
I thought so. I thought
and,
that's what it said.
the brush hogs too.
And do you have enough manpower to, if you get a new piece of equipment for it?
I have all the manpower I need.
Okay.
I thought
Yeah.
we just got one of those with the trailer.
No, that was a lawnmower. The tractors that I'm talking about, 70 horse cabs with 6-foot brush hogs on them.
Okay.
Last year, they bought a trailer and a zero-turn lawnmower, and that's what we used to mow
Okay, I
up
didn't
all the
understand that
property
was a
around here.
zero turn. I thought that was for doing the ditches.
No.
Okay.
They're probably going to be around the $70,000, $80,000 range for each one. So they're a lot different than a mower.
Okay.
But we do have 3
I think
bids,
four-wheel drive tractors is what you're talking about.
4-wheel drive,
Yeah,
70 horse.
I had a four-wheel drive tractor I sold before I moved here, and a brush hog. And I had a 6-foot, I had a 7-foot brush hog. And I don't know, you can buy a lot of good used equipment in Nebraska. Maybe we ought to be thinking about looking at something, some used tractors, because there's a lot more tractors in Nebraska than there is in here, by far. Because there's always people, those tractor places are lined up with used equipment. Something we maybe ought to look into. I'm going up there in another, probably right after the first year, I might take a look at some of that.
Anybody have any other questions for Mike with the road department concerning the budget? Mike, thanks for coming. Thanks for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Thanks for the good job your folks do.
Thank you.
Up will be Dan with the water department and wastewater.
Dan Schrader, Water and Wastewater Superintendent.
Dan, I'll start it off. Give us an update on well 5.
It's up and running.
It was offline a week or
was.
2 ago, and social media made a big deal out of it, and I want you to affirm that it's okay.
It's up and running. It's fine.
Okay. Some people were saying that it's underpowered, whatever, but I'm assuming, and you're the guy that in the know,
It's not underpowered. It's the same motor that was in there. Everything's the same pumping rate it's always been. It's fine.
okay, let's talk about the ultraviolet light system. What's going on with that?
I wish I knew.
I'm sorry?
I wish I knew.
Okay, but we are in the schedule and blah, 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 we're going to do it.
We have to do it.
Like it. We are way behind schedule, if you ask me and Dan, and I'm sorry, but a lot of it has to do with paperwork, engineer companies, getting everything passed through. The water rate study did slow us down a little bit, but there's just other stuff that, yeah, we were supposed to start December 31st, and I don't even think we've got out for bid yet.
No, we haven't. Not yet.
Okay.
And it's going to be critical because I think it's either March or April. We got to have this online. So
We're getting down to crunch time.
Can we talk about the PRV valves?
okay,
How many are left to install?
we got 6.
And what is the anticipated completion date of the installation of those 6?
Those 6 are still running fine. They're older style, but they're still up and running. So we do have enough PRVs to replace them, but at this time, they're working.
That's the
So-
first I've heard of that. That they're older ones, but they're maintaining the pressure.
Yeah. We've had several of them that are older, but we changed them out to new ones. They weren't all like bad,
Okay.
but,
That's.
so I gave Rich a number, I don't know if you discussed, is it 30?
And gave it to Bryce, so Bryce has all that information.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first I knew that too. I think we get bits and pieces of information. And-
Oh, yes, I understand.
Well, yeah, and Mike, I think that's why you're here, is to set the record straight and clear the air of what's fact and what goes on social media. And I'm glad you're here to kind of dispel some of the stuff that I read about.
Okay, fair enough.
I have a question, Dan, about, and I talked to Rich about this briefly. Our engineer, ESI, and Jeff is our main engineer that you've worked with for a long time. Is he or that company involved in any of the projects here on water and wastewater right now currently? And which one is it?
Just the UV project.
Okay, and where are we on that?
That's, yeah, we don't know. We're anticipating, to be installed. But we don't have any word that it went out for bid or anything yet.
The water study is what, and I apologize for if people are repeating stuff and I'm asking it again, excuse me. But the water study being done was a precursor for getting Jeff to do that work or not?
No, there's no mention of water study.
Okay. I thought it was a loan, Rich, the loan for $1 million for 4%.
Stay was to help offset the cost of it, right? Or that's why we did the water study, to help figure out in the budget how we were gonna offset the,
UV project?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were required to do a water study for Act 605 of the water department.
That's correct.
So that was part of what.
That was like that was like every 5 years we got to do it, or
Yeah, and this is our
6,
first.
or,
Yeah, that was more than just, that was part of the act too.
My next question, I don't think it was asked on the table, was on the fire hydrant testing. Are your crews doing that at this time?
as much as we can. Keep in mind, we only got 4 people, so
I know,
it's hard to get, everything accomplished.
but I know, but with 208 of them to do, maybe, how many have been done, would you say, Dan?
We got probably 9 or 10 of them.
How long does it take to do one?
Maybe 10, 20 minutes.
And it's been told to us that only the water department can do them, that the fire department can't do them?
Yeah, we like it that way because we're in control of it. A lot of these hydrants and a lot of the lines, we know what they can take, what kind of pressure they can, or I should say how slowly we can open them and how slowly we can close them. Other people that are not with the water department, they'll open them and shut them as fast as they can, and we'll end up, fixing the line. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
I just
Because-
noticed that in other areas, I see off-duty firemen out
Right.
flushing hydrants all the time.
Well, other areas in town also, they have what they call, 6 and 8 inch lines on fire hydrants.
Okay.
The majority of ours are on 4 inch lines, which is not recommended for a fire hydrant. But that's what we have to work with.
Not to say anything bad about our fire department, don't take this the wrong way, Gary, but after the structure fire, they opened and shut the fire hydrants, and then 2 days later, had a main break and went through 260,000, well, the fire went through 260,000 gallons of water, and then we went through additional water with the main break. So, and in the heat of the moment, a fireman gets up to a hydrant, he hooks onto it, and he opens it as fast as he can, and then shuts it. So it's gonna happen. But when
Well-
they do flushing, it shouldn't happen.
It's not fair to say, they did it. I mean, they don't understand the structure of the system like the water department does. We know that, that's on a 4 inch line, so there's no way we can open it. We're gonna have to take, a quarter turn, stop, open it again, and the same way we're shutting it down, because we know that 4 inch can't handle that that flow that's coming in there and what it's tied to. So we got to keep all that in mind.
That's my
not
next
a
question then.
priority when there's a fire.
Exactly. You're not thinking. You're like, you need water.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to,
No, and I don't think that was anybody's
No.
intention. That was certainly no.
Right.
Yeah, nothing against our fire department. They do great, but that's why we have the water department do it with just regular flushing.
Do you feel confident the fire department can go out and hook a hose on any of our hydrants and they'd get water?
oh yeah, they get water. They will.
So we don't have any hydrants that are without water.
We have 4 hydrants that are without water. And they just got to be, the guts, or I shouldn't say, use that term. Like the inner parts of the hydrant
Guts is fine.
need to be replaced. And we got those already ordered, so we'll get the 4 that we have. And
So it's not about the water, it's about the
yeah,
hydrants themselves.
Yep,
It's
yep.
just a mechanical problem.
it is. And we got, there's of these 4, there's 2 of them, they do work. You just have to open up the valve in front of them.
Okay.
So,
And the fire department's aware of that.
well, I say this, probably not. And that's because, no offense, but, Gary's new to the whole thing, and so he may not know some of the ins and outs and what we have been doing. And
But we're only talking about 4 hydrants.
right. And they're isolated. They're not like in a main area
I
where
guess,
housing is.
all
so
said
it's
and done,
like-
Gary needs to know where those 4 are.
Right.
Sure, I have a question for Dan on the social media stuff. We had a person come a few weeks ago, maybe, and left in sort of a huff, as my dad used to say. And some of the, most of the things they are incorrect on, most, but I'm not a water guy. You and Rich are the water experts in this room. Well, he's not in the room now. Is there a chance and to correct the record and to make sure that everybody, that we're doing the right things, which I know we are, to put out like the mayor puts out, a letter to the community about thus and so, things that are misunderstood, and he does a good job of putting out on their website correction to those things. Would it be too much of a task to get you and Rich, both the water experts, to get together and write maybe a 2-page summary of this is what we're doing at Holiday Island, this is best practice, this is what we're doing, and the water is safe, and also maybe at the time that the state water report comes out, I think we get that every year, the homeowner, that
yeah.
we've got good, clean water. And it seems that with you two, and maybe even Jeff as an engineer, but to set the record straight, you're shaking your head. I know it's a difficult task.
No,
but if
I'm
we
not
put-
shaking your head for that, no.
Oh, okay. But, once we tell them, this is the way we're doing it, and this is the best practice in the water industry, and we're not endangering one person in Holiday Island with this stuff. And then we forget about it. I'll forget about it. But it's just, and then I stopped reading social media about stuff like that. But, so you can say, well, everybody stopped reading it. But it's out there, and it even boils up to the point of lawsuits. And I don't think it should, but we're in one right now. It doesn't have anything to do with water, okay? But just give me your reaction. I'll honor it, and I'll honor Rich's too.
Well, you're going to have to be like specific to what we're going to address.
How about radon? Let's talk about radon for a minute.
Okay? The only radon that we have, or we don't have, you talking about radium or radon?
I thought it was
There's-
radon, R-A-D-O-N is what I thought.
Okay, are we talking about well 2?
I'm not sure.
I mean, we got to get real specific. Well 2 is not in use anymore.
Yeah.
It has radium in it,
Okay,
and it's detectable over the state allowable limit,
okay,
barely.
okay.
So for that reason, there was 2 suggestions, either running a line all the way up to Summit or, what they call blending the water together
Okay.
to reduce that amount.
Uh-huh.
But well 2 is not online, so.
Another question, I'll just bring it up. Do all of our pumps, and we just talked about well 5, but are they all sufficient and in good repair to continue to provide water that the whole 2,300 people need, even if one goes down? Like, well, 5 was down with a lightning strike, and we had to conserve water. Rich
Right.
sent out a notice of that. But,
Right.
Are we in a spot where I can't take a shower for a week because we don't have enough water?
No, just like well 5, generally speaking, in 2 days' time, we can have any one of the wells down and back up, so.
I thought you did great in getting this vendor to come in such a short time to get that done, by the way.
Well, it's the same vendor we've always used, and that's why we use them is,
Having a relationship.
Yeah.
Can you use well 2 for anything?
um,
Irrigation?
well 2, you could use, you're gonna have to do some kind of treatment to it to actually have
Now,
it
is-
potable
is
use.
Is that in the water, or is it like radon where you can?
Radium.
Radium, I know, but is it similar where you can aerate underneath and reduce that?
Radium has got to be reverse osmosis.
Right, okay. You just reverse osmosis, the only thing that will cure it.
Yeah.
I just want to make that clear so people that are listening to this would know what the difference was.
Right.
Mike, I agree somewhat with Ken, and not being an educator, I wouldn't require 2 pages, but a couple of paragraphs about the status of well 5. And when these things come about, we need to clear the air with fact concerning our water, because I'm sure it bothers everybody when they read this misinformation on social media. And I think there's times that between you and Rich, you need to step up and write a paragraph saying, you know what, this is not true, this is the facts. Just to clear the air, and I think people would feel better about it. But you wouldn't need to write 2 pages.
And when does the state report, the one that everybody in the homeowner gets, when does that come out? I can't remember, on the water.
I think you're referring to that consumer confidence report. That comes out in June.
June, okay. Okay, I think Randy has summed it up. I guess we don't need a 2-page report. I'm ready to write a 100-page dissertation. Anybody else have any concerns about clearing the air? We heard criminally negligent, Dan, a couple of weeks ago, and I know we're not. That term was brought up. We're not.
So my last question, Dan, is what do you need for capital improvements, if anything?
Come on.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
70 miles.
What we really need to focus in on is going back to our well situation. You know, we've talked about well 5 and well 4. What we really need to look at is drilling another well up towards the hydro pillar. That way, well 5 can still be used. We won't have to use it as much. Thus, it would save on, right now it requires some booster pumps in there. And the only reason it has booster pumps in it is to get that water up to the hydro pillar. That's the only reason. So if we were to drill another well closer to the hydro pillar, and we could keep that hydro pillar full, because everything is gravity fed off that hydro pillar, would reduce the stress on well 5. And that way we'd have a contingency plan. So no matter what, you know, of 4, 5, or this new well, if any one of them went out, you know, we got confidence that we can, you know, get it fixed and have plenty of water, and we'll have that redundancy we need. We won't need well 2.
I guess the big question is always how much?
Well, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
The outfit that redid the pump for us, Mr. Pump, we're in touch with Lane Western, who drills the actual wells, and they're out of Kansas City, Missouri, so.
And how deep is this, 1,000 feet?
Well, we don't know exactly how deep we gotta go, we gotta pick the area. We'll have to get an engineer involved, because it's gonna be a design that the health department's gonna wanna see, so there's a lot of legwork to it right now. So you know, it probably won't happen this coming year in 2025, but we need to kind of work that way.
Well,
to
I think
see.
it's important that we
So-
know about it for
Right.
the future planning.
You bet.
And that
You bet.
1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan, we need to know these things and
Absolutely.
put a dollar amount to it.
Yep.
And I would ask what the plan is, or do we have a long-term plan for the maintenance work that needs to be done on the towers, the finishing? And I know nothing about it, so is the interiors, do they need to have work done on them?
Not at this point. Every year.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, every year they come do an inspection on the outside and the inside of the water tanks. And we're given a report on their conditions and, you know, right now, we're not talking about any kind of
Okay,
rehabbing of them.
okay. It's something I had seen out there, and I'm not well enough versed to ask the right question.
We do have a contract with utility company to inspect our wire towers, and we make payments to them, so that way when it does come time, they will do the repairs.
Okay.
So you're talking about putting in a new well. Is it a well issue or a leak issue?
It's a well. Because right now, we're
How many
stressed.
gallons a month do you pump right now?
You know, probably about 5 million.
How many do you sell? Actually at the meters.
It's probably, well, I don't have the figures right ahead. I can tell you, like, at the 1 year, we're up in the 298,000 gallons that we pump out of the ground. We sell about 74,000 of that. So we're at a 74% loss.
So do you need more wells or do you need leaks fixed?
Well, I mean, I think you're gonna need that capacity for that well first. These leaks are not nonstop. They came with the district.
I'll agree.
You're not gonna, try to, everybody says, oh yeah, just replace the lines. Well, it's about $1 million a mile. We got 69 miles.
From what I've read, though, Eagle Rock and Eureka has about the same leakage rate.
Not as high, but in Eureka, yeah, they buy their water, so that's what hurts them, but.
And I read somewhere that a long-term plan, we could actually get water from another source by putting in a pipeline between here and who knows where.
No, I don't know where.
That one report that we saw.
So at one point in time, there was something,
That 2006 report,
yeah.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't put any knowledge into
No,
that.
I don't think it talked about
I guess
tying
the
on the
the
system.
question that I
Well,
have
it's
for
in
you,
one of our water reports.
the question I have is
read
on the
it.
usage, on the leak part, is putting in another well and leaving the leaks like they are. The customer pays for that leak, right? I mean, we're on 110 on the billing. Every cost that's there, we pay for it, whether we use it or leak it. As far as water billing is 100%, 110% of the cost of the water department. Utilities, it takes utilities and everything else to pump that water. You're still treating that water that leaks. So as long as we don't fix the leaks, we're still paying for the waste that's out there. I mean, in the long-term part of this, if we put in a well and we
Yep.
continue the leaks, we're gonna continue to pay the part.
Yeah. So, in the long run, yes. So, you're paying for the water that goes through your meter, but the water you're paying for going through your meter is to help run the system to keep it going. So, yes, the water loss that we're having, you are a small percentage of that, you are paying for that water loss because it costs money to pump the water. It costs, what, 19 cents a gallon, or not even 19 cents a gallon?
Thousand. It's probably about 22 cents a thousand.
Yeah, 22 cents a 1,000 gallon that we pump, it costs.
I'm just asking for the capital improvement
Yep.
part of which side to put it in.
You see it,
Is there a combination of the two?
a combination as of,
Finding the leaks and part of it to cut that usage part while doing well and and everything else.
Well, trying to find the leaks, I mean, we've done that, and you're not gonna find them. I mean, what it comes down to is replacing stuff. So, I mean, we can find the leaks. We can find the big ones and so on. What we can't find is all the service lines, and that's where I believe all the trouble is. A lot of this stuff was put back in the, early 70s. They used what they call Driscoll pipe tubing. It's outlawed and you can't buy it, and that's what we have in this system. So, these service lines are what really are causing the problem.
And that's the biggest thing, is you have all these empty lots that have
Service.
water to them, have water service to them. And we have, when somebody doesn't hear the water running in their house or their meter doesn't show it, we don't know about it. So it's like a needle in a haystack kind of thing. And there are companies out there, we used one before, that come in, tie onto hydrants, use sound machines. They can zero it down to within footage. But that's still footage in a hillside, needle in the haystack.
Do we, like these empty lots that they have water hooked up to them already? We have shut-offs so they don't have water going to them?
Yeah.
So
Shut-offs on the property, but you got the main that sets on one side of the street or center of the street, and then you got a line going across that street to the meter set where it's shut off. I mean, you still got, you're looking at 30 to 60 foot of line
before it hits the meter.
before it even hits the meter shut-off.
I
And the
wonder if
other-
it's advantageous to move the meters or, or put
Well,
a
there's
shut-off
shut-offs.
further up by the line?
Yeah, and there's shut-offs on the main, but as soon as they hook up that main, they put a valve on top of that main, they run the water line, they set their valve over here for the meter pit, they turn on that valve. So let's say there's 5,000 services, and we're only running 1,500 meters. So there's 2,500 lines that are on and active that we have no way to see, monitor.
The only way we'd have is to be able to shut it off the main.
Yep, and then you shut off main, you're tearing up the
Well,
street.
no, but I mean, the pipe going over to that, whatever, is it just on,
I know what you're saying, and you'd have to dig up the main, every one of those services.
that's what I'm saying. That's-
Exactly.
that's
And then
what we
you have
did
to
before.
patch every road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike, Mike, I want to move on with
Dan.
water meters. Do we have a program in place right now to replace water meters?
No.
We have a lot of meters.
I've
that aren't
read
working.
already that we have some dated meters that have a tendency to read less than they're actually using. As the water, well, I don't make this stuff up, it's all stuff I've read. And what it's saying is, we're supposed to replace our water meters at a certain amount of gallons. I don't know what that is, 1,000,000 gallons? Residential
It's-
water meters are to be replaced.
There,
Life expectancy on a meter. When the meter starts running slow, we notice it, and they've changed out some.
yeah, we have.
And-
We change them out quite frequently.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Do we have a schedule that we're doing so many a year, or?
No, I mean, I don't know, I mean, you'd have to look and see how many we replaced so far this year. I don't keep a running tally on it. What'll happen is we'll get a reading, after we read meters, we'll get a reading, Regina will send us out, do rereads. Then we'll look at them and say, okay, this one, somebody should be there, but they're not there, and, or they're there, but they should be using more water. Then we'll go out there and investigate and say, okay, it is the meter. Meters will only run slow when they're, not working. They don't, I mean, there's nothing in there that makes them go faster or slower, except for when they wear out. Because all
Okay.
it is just a little internal spinner that goes in there and just turns around, so.
And most of the time, the reader meter can detect that when he reads
Yeah.
the meter, it looks.
Yeah, because I mean,
It looks different.
yeah, it looks different. They use less than what they should. Because Regina knows, I mean, she's got a list of,
Yeah, I'm sure every house
Yeah.
uses probably about the same amount of water every month.
well, it depends on the person. I mean, it does.
Well, I mean,
You know,
people that
but
occupy
she
the
knows.
house 365.
Right.
My wife and I'm sure our water usage doesn't vary much from month to
Right.
month. And if he saw an anomaly in it, he would report that to Regina.
It'll show up in that, yeah,
Yeah,
in the report.
Regina gets the report, because I have been called and checked, and I know I have a leak out in my, on the north side of my house, and I have opted not to do anything with it yet. But that's because it's,
All of our water's going.
yeah, it is, I'm totally responsible. I'm totally responsible.
Do we have other questions for Mike?
Dan, his name is?
Dan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, appreciate your coming
problem.
and dispelling some of the myths that are out there. And we need to do more of that.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the good job you do. And Regina's part of it. She does a good job.
Yes.
Kudos. Okay.
We got Chief
Gary.
Martin.
This is the last one, right?
Yep. Oh, we got the admin, then we'll have Carrie and the admin.
Good morning, Gary Martin, Fire Chief.
Good morning.
I'll ask the first question.
Yes.
Do you have any big needs that haven't been identified either by your staff or that you want to bring the board up to date on, since the budget is going to be approved next Monday probably?
Yes, I do. Rich and I have talked, and I'm not exactly sure our position here, but since we done our meeting with Jennifer back in September, we've identified another problem that is my most pressing problem right now is I need to replace my air packs, which is our breathing air that we wear in the structure fires. The ones that we have are going out of date. The cylinders that carry the air expire next spring, which means I can't get them retested. It means we can't use them, we can't fill them. The air packs themselves are 2-3 generations old, and from what I've been understood from manufacturers, they are now no longer making parts for them. So I have to do a massive upgrade of my breathing air.
Okay. The other, just last Friday, I signed a check for $54,000, but that was for radios, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the city and CID are getting together on that.
Yes, sir.
But these are air packs, and what's the total on what you need for air packs?
We're not going to get them all at once. We're going to roll this out over a period of 3 to 5 years. For right now we can always relook at this and adjust my numbers. I want to reach out here, 20 air packs, which would give me 4 air packs for, you got to have 4 air packs on a fire truck to be classified as a pumper. This would take care of my frontline pumper, our frontline rural pumper, which we take outside the city, our mutual aid truck that we send to Eureka Springs, and would also outfit our aerial truck, which also goes to Eureka Springs quite a bit. I'm looking at 20 air packs, and you're looking ballparking right around $10,000 an air pack. That gives you 1 air pack and 2 bottles to go with it.
$10,000.
$10,000 for, yes, sir. Depending of the system I'm looking at. We can get some a little bit cheaper, but the system I'm looking at, in my opinion, is a superior air pack, especially for life safety. And it's the air pack that I've chosen to go with, and for multiple other reasons. It also interchanges with Eureka Springs air systems. If we have a, God forbid, a major structure fire at the Basin Park Inn, and we're going to be up there all weekend with them fighting fire, our air packs will change out with theirs also if we go to this new system. Air packs are very, very expensive.
Is there any grant money out there or any kind of?
There's grant money, but
financial-
with us being a suburban improvement district, I'm not sure what we're qualified for. That's what kills us right there.
Yeah.
And then there's some too, even if we weren't a SID, they look at your community, and we're classified as an affluent community.
Yeah.
And even where I live down in Madison County, the community I'm in down there, it's farmers. I don't qualify for certain grants because of the farmers' so-called total income.
Yeah, we run into that a lot
Yes.
on grants. We're not an LMI community.
Right.
I think, though, the air packs is actually a capital improvement. It's not
Yes, sir.
something that we're going to put in the budget.
Yes, sir, it would be a capital improvement.
Right.
I
And I
have a
think for
question.
that kind of money, we're going to have to shop that.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. $10,000 each.
Yes. We can get them for a little bit less. The reason I'm going with this company, they are a nationwide, and of course, it's a lot of people, it's Scott, MSA, it's Ford, Dodge, whatever. Scott Air Pack, which is the one I want to go with, they have a lifetime warranty on their air pack for as long as we own that pack. As long as we own it, we don't sell it to somebody else, we have a lifetime warranty on it for manufacturer's defects. It also has a dual redundancy system, which means it's got two air supply systems going to that air pack. If one side fails, it's got the other side to pick it up. And what I'm looking at is life safety for my firefighters. And these also, the electronic components are encased in resin. They're not waterproof, but it makes them more water resistant. And again, it also interchanges with the air packs and Eureka Springs.
Chief, if you had a big fire like we've had recently, and you had 6 people show up, but you have 4 air packs on that truck, what do you do with the other 2 firefighters that don't have an air pack?
They're going to stand outside. They can do groundwork from outside, from a safe distance. Parts that's not exposed to the fire, they can throw ladders, they can help stretch lines, they can get tools, they can pump trucks.
Those are for going into the building?
Yes, those are for going into life danger, we call immediate danger to life and health situations.
They were required to be somebody on those trucks and manage
Yes.
those trucks. And that's what we did. You have 1 or 2 people that go in that house. That's about,
Yes.
if you have a major fire, you don't send the whole crew into that house.
If I have if I'm sending somebody into a life danger situation, I have to have them in proper breathing air.
The other question I had, Sheriff, if I can ask it, it's a little bit off, but still about support for the fire department, and that's the auxiliary. I understand the auxiliary now is going back to 2 white elephant sales a year, where everybody gives a lot of good things, and they pick it up and maybe give $20,000-$25,000 a year back to the fire department. There was a time when one of the chiefs said, no, we're not going to do that anymore, or we're not going to use volunteers to lift couches and chairs and bring them over to a station. What's your attitude on that or feeling on it, and where are we with supporting the auxiliary?
I'm all for the white elephant sale. I'm a big supporter of it. It's made us a lot of money. I do agree with not using, definitely not using on-duty personnel because we're busy doing other things. From what I understand and what I was understood in a meeting, that they have enough help to move things. Granted, if we have some volunteers that want to help out, that's fantastic. But they're supposed to be able to do this self-sufficient without having to get into our on-duty crews, because I need them out doing inspections. I need them ready to respond to medical calls, ready to respond to fires. We've got plenty of things that's going to keep them busy besides that. But all aside that, I am all for the white elephant sales because I've been told it's done us very good in the past.
Which station has the room to store this stuff between the sales? Which station?
They are in the process of trying to have their own building to store it in. However, that's not come a lot yet. Now we are storing some of our things at Station 2, which is up behind Wolf Fitness, back in the kitchen area. I've asked them, please do not go beyond that because then it gets in the way of our apparatus. If we have to, we can store a few things out of Station 5 in the right-hand side of that building, which there's no trucks. But they're supposed to be getting their own building to store this in.
Tell us about your staffing. Are you all staffed now and ready to go with 24-hour care?
I am short 2 full-time firefighters. We've had, of course, when I promoted the chief, my position, we've recently had an opening coming up this past week that I need to fill. As of now, between myself working a little bit extra and part-timers, we're able to cover those, but it's kind of a day-to-day basis on what I can get covered. And worst-case scenario, I cover the shift to make sure we have somebody there. But I am down 2 full-time firefighters.
Chief, I want to ask you about the building maintenance in your budget for $10,000. What is that to be used for?
We need to do some rewiring, such at Station 3 we've got the lights to do it. We want to rewire our lighting system in the A room. It's going to put LED lights out there to give us better lighting for less expense. Station 1 eventually is going to need a new HVAC system. We just had it checked out. So far, so good. Cross our fingers. In the future, we need to redo our Station 1 to allow for more sleeping areas. For if we do have volunteers that want to stay up there, we can. I'm going to probably be moving my office to another room. Basically, just a lot of maintenance and upkeep that's been neglected over the years.
All right, we bought 3 new vehicles or 3 new to us vehicles.
3 new to us, yes.
Now you got $15,000 in the budget for vehicle maintenance.
These things, this past year, we have had major incidents with one of our newer rigs. What we classify it now 1755. It's stationed out at Station 5, which is on state line. We spent right around, I think, $10,000 on that trying to find a coolant leak. These hills are horrible on trucks and cause them to overheat. And it was in the shop for $10,000, just that truck itself are right at $10,000 to fix this issue.
That's not including the towing too.
That is correct. And with the older trucks, there's no warranties on them, so I buy used cars. I have to do a lot of repairs on them sometimes.
You also have $10,000 for tires.
We have one truck that I'm fixing to have to replace tires on. I'm gonna have to put 4 on there. I
Well,
want to
thought
make
we
sure.
just went through this. I looked at past budgets. We've been spending, on average, $15,000 a year on tires.
I have to go back and look at some of our other tires on our trucks. I know I have one truck that does need new tires. I'd have to look at Randy's budget, see what he spent on tires in the past.
Department, can they, the mechanic down there, can they work on trucks at all or any?
They've been good about, like on our smaller rigs, changing our oil and doing servicing on our smaller trucks. Mike has been real good about offering to help on small things that he can. There are a few things, though, especially on our bigger trucks, that we do need to farm out our big diesel engines, transmissions, and stuff like that, because it's going to be in the shop for a while. Don't need his guys tied up trying to work on my trucks when they need to be out patching roads.
Do you fill up your vehicles down at the shops? The
Yes, sir.
district shops?
Yes, sir.
Other questions of the fire chief? Doug?
Nope, I don't
Yes.
have any. I'm just listening. I got a lot of.
Sure, it's a work session.
On the tires, isn't it true that you have to replace them by age even if they're not worn out?
Yes, that is, thank you. Forget which federal alphabet organization it is, but tires, I believe it's 8 to 10 years is the maximum on a tire. Even though that tire looks good, probably will be all right if there is an incident where they say that tire blows. We roll a truck, we have injury or death. If that tire is technically expired, then we got that liability to deal with. So we try to keep our tires up to date.
I just remember this conversation going on a couple, 3 years ago about all these old checked and cracked tires because of age. And 8 to 10 years sounds reasonable because I'm sure that they'll expire by age easier than they would by mileage.
Pretty much with us.
I mean, you're not going to drive one of these fire trucks 50,000 miles.
We put more hours on one than we do miles.
Okay. Other questions for the chief?
Toning, your guys and gals call it toning out, to call for fire for volunteers and so forth. Has that been improved or is that new or where are we on to call firefighters that you need on a fire?
We're dispatched through the Carroll County Sheriff's Office 911 Center, and they are awesome. Yes, there's some room for improvement, but they're real good about working with us and listening to our concerns. Compared to other services that I've worked at, I am very happy with our dispatch system. Yes, we can use some improvements, but they work very hard to take care of us, and if I ask them to tone out, they're toning out.
I haven't talked to Rich about this, but I would like your opinion, and maybe he has others to add. The rural fire district, which is mainly Beaver, it would be called Beaver, town of Beaver.
Yes, yeah.
There's the station over there. What is the, as far as we're looking at the budget now, some pretty big items over the radios, for instance, the airpacks rather. What is the rural fire district? Is there an interlocal agreement like we have with the city, or are they putting in money, or does Beaver get free fire protection, or town of Beaver?
We have to sit down and relook at our contract with Beaver. The one we have, the newest one that I found is fairly old. It's back 2008, I think is when it expired or something like that. So we really do need to sit down and look at that. That agreement that I was looking at, they provide the building, we put the trucks in, and I believe we're sharing expenses on utilities and maybe even liability insurance, and I believe that's about all we're getting. So it's something that we do need to relook at for for the town of Beaver.
Are our vehicles allowed to go over the Beaver Bridge?
We keep,
The truck is already in Beaver.
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah, we keep a pumper and a tanker over there, and, but the only rigs that we have here that can go across is our two smaller pickup rigs and our brush trucks because of weight.
So we have 2 vehicles over there in the garage?
Yes, sir. And I'm in the process of getting numbers to send in to request for a third or a second tanker to keep stationed over there.
Would we have to build an addition onto the garage?
There's an addition being built right now that's being worked out between us and the town of Beaver. And I believe it's through the rural. But anyway, there is a station slowly, but it's slowly being built.
Well, do you know if, you've been here a short time, so do the citizens of Beaver pay, like some districts, Inspiration Point and others maybe, pay a fee for each home to be fire protected?
From the paperwork that I have found, I don't believe so. The way I understand the agreement is we provide service to the town of Beaver for, they're paying part of the utilities and all that stuff. I have not found anything that shows the citizens of Beaver paying us a dues. Not saying it's not out there, I just haven't seen it.
Those 2 vehicles over there now and the third one that you're going to put over there, have they been replaced or are they newer or where are we on?
No, sir, they're older. The tanker is an actually 1970s model gasoline engine GMC. The pumper is, it's an 04, I believe it's 80s or 90s model maybe. It smokes like a freight train, but it'll pump the water.
Are there many fires? I don't know when fires are over there, but what's the record over there?
Our numbers in Beaver are fairly low. Biggest thing I have in my short time that I've been here is hay bale fires and some like grass fires. I think the 1 or 2 little house fires I've been on were like appliances catching and were caught and was able to get it out. So that's my experience since I've been here.
Well, I did have one more, and that's I see building commissioner here, building inspector Dave. Is your department and the city up to date on the inspections for the short-term rentals and so forth that you were all working on?
So far, I believe I'm up to date on what I've been given. Now, what's still out there to do, I do not know those numbers, but I believe I still have a couple I need to get into them that we just inspected within the last couple of weeks. I got to finalize, but I'm pretty close on what I've been given, I believe.
There was a conversation about this past weekend on Saturday. Insurance billing for outside of the district. Is that going forward?
Yes, sir. Rich has directed me to go ahead and get that started. I'm kind of a character type of person that I'd rather not reinvent the wheel. So I've been talking to other departments that are doing this and seeing how they're doing it. And I have their paperwork, and that's my project for this month is to get a plan out of where we can start doing some type of billing.
Inspections for the ballroom, country club, and the barn. Tell us your status on that.
From what I'm seeing, I'm pleased. I've not given them a timeline because I think they're doing some other things that's going along with it. But from what I've been told, I'm very pleased with the progress we're making. The kitchen, I've already sent Rich a letter that as far as the imminent fire hazard has been rectified. There's a few things they do need to do, but it can be done with it in operation. That's not a big deal. But we've given our go-ahead. As far as I'm concerned, on our end of it, it's ready to open back up.
Thank you.
Other questions for the chief? Chief, thanks for coming and thanks for explaining things.
Thank you.
And thanks for the job you do.
Rich, do you have someone else?
Last of all, we got Carrie in the admin office. If there's anything you have for her. Janice had an appointment, so she is not going to make it in, but we can set up something with her. Janice at the rec center. She did not make it, so.
Okay, I'm Carrie Buchanan, and I'll give you my history with Holiday Island. As a 6, 7, 8-year-old about in there, My family owned a business in Golden, and I would come with my daddy to bring gas down to when the horses were there. Sorry. So I have that. But as far as Holiday Island itself, in March of 1981, I came to work for the developer. In 1997, I came down to the district. In July of 2000, I left to help in the family business, and I came back June the 16th of 2003. Regina, I hired working for the developer in 2003. Whenever I exited the building in 97, Regina came to the office. We refer to ourselves as the dinosaurs. And I got that affirmed. Yesterday at church, we had a Christmas program. Had a little girl come right up to me. They call me Gigi. Gigi, you weren't here on Wednesday. I said, well, Elena, I have to work. Work on what? I said, well, honey, I still work full time. She reared back, put her hand on her hip, and she said, you're too old to still be working. So that was my slap in the face. Okay, I did put some, it's very frustrating in our office, and I don't look at Facebook, but I have ladies that do, on all the misinformation out there. So I do want to show you something I put together. I was on vacation at the November 27th meeting. Can you enlarge that? But I did listen to the meeting, and there was a remark made during that meeting that was very disappointing. So that prompted me, I wanted to put this together. I was proud to hear Larry Stamps recognize the importance of longevity for employees. So I took each department, and this is only based on full-time people, and I separated Rich out because really his wages, really being lumped into admin, could be split between the 7 departments because he isn't just over us. So I separated him out, and his longevity is 0.75. He's working on, he'll be here longer. In the admin department, your hours, your years, we won't talk about the hours. The admin people have been here 26, 25, 18, 5, and 2. So our longevity average of employees is 15.2. The water, wastewater, the average of theirs is 8.55. The roads is 1.78. The fire department is 1.66. And that also includes the employee that was referenced to that has now left, so that will drop. Currently, there are no full-time employees in the pro shop or at the restaurant. Previously, there had been one. In the golf maintenance department, the average longevity of their employees is 3.76 years. And at the rec center, you have Kim, and she's been there 12 years. Now, not all that's full-time, but she has worked for HICID for 12 years. I just thought that was interesting. And you guys want me to wait for questions, or I can tell you one change that's going to be to our budget?
You can tell us about the change. What is it?
Okay, we had a copier on our CIP.
We're well aware of the copier.
Okay, well, and so that is on our request. It bit the dust, so we had to go ahead and buy one. Now, the thing that's wonderful about the copier is the district buys their stuff through a state procurement program as much as we can, and that's like you go down the state and they have these lists. So that copier was on that state procurement, so we don't have to get quotes. But the previous copier we had, we purchased in 2014. So we got 10 plus years off of it. So when the guy kept coming, he kept saying, ladies, I can't get parts for this anymore. He said, and so I called and got a bid. And I really expected it to be $12,000, but since it was through state procurement, it was about $7,500. And the company we go with is Preferred Office Products. And whenever our copier laid down, within 2 days, they had us a loaner until they could get this one ordered. We pay $36 a month, and that covers the toner. And whenever we call them, if we don't call them like 3 o'clock, they don't get here that day. If we call them at 8 o'clock in the morning, they are wonderful. They're here getting us back up and going. So that's a company that we're all very confident and, very pleased with. So that money will come out of ours. And then I know phones were discussed. I have the information ready. I can give you a history on the phones.
Okay, let's start with, right now, we have 74 phone lines in HICID that we pay a monthly fee on.
Not really.
Well, I have the paperwork right here that you supplied.
Right, but all those, when we pay Nextiva, what they,
Do we have 74 phone numbers listed to HICID?
well, those were blocked out for us, but we don't pay for all those. But let me give you history on the phones, okay? We had a Plexar system, and that was AT&T. So AT&T wanted to push out all their Plexar customers. So we went from, like $1,000 a month. Well, as of August of 2017, they had raised their monthly fee to $3,841. At that time, I kept saying, please, somebody, this is not, I'm not a phone person, okay? I knew it was over my head. So we had a commissioner at the time, and he was kind of familiar with that, and he was going to work with it. I had reached out some, but it was all too confusing to me. So the commissioner worked on it, and then he come back and said, ooh. I said, yes. So then the current district manager, his wife was in this, and she could do it in her sleep. I said, wonderful, but nothing ever happened. So Carrie, with ignorance of phone systems, we had to do something. So AT&T, they had the answer. We had fiber optic right up here on the corner, and that's the best thing you could ever have. So we went with AT&T, and then you had to have a company that handled all the phone calls and everything. So whenever we got all that installed, you could hear every other syllable on their fiber optic. So the gentleman that was handling the phone service, not the phone line, but the phone service, he was so frustrated, so he called me and he said, Carrie, I'm embarrassed by my company. He said, because they're not giving you any resolutions. He said, my wife works for a company. Don't tell anybody, but try her. So that's when we got to where we are now. Now, whenever that happened, we had been months and months back and forth. So I spent a lot of time working to get the money from both companies. So after about 15 months or so, beyond the 15 months I probably spent on the other, I was able to get a $35,928 credit on our phone systems because what they sold us did not work. $35,900 that I got, and that was in December of 2020. Now, on the phone system, if somebody with knowledge wants to come in and guide us through that, I'm all for it. I am not a phone person. I have never claimed to be a VoIP expert. So I would welcome any help with that. But we went from $3,000 down to the $1,000 that we're now paying. Now, all of our phones are VoIP, which is Voice over Internet Protocol, except for the marina, the campground, and Dan's telemetry. They are Verizon. Then we have cell phones for the fire department, the water department. I think that's,
My
well,
understanding, we only have 5 cell phones. Is that right?
yes, that's the campground, marina, the fire department, the water department. And the other one might be the disc that we got whenever we were without power and had no, that's what the other charge is.
Do
Okay.
they not have a landline at the marina?
No. No, when we left AT&T, that's whenever we made everything VoIP except the marina, because we'd had to pay for the internet to work their phone, and the campground, we went with cell phones there. And on the marina, I don't know that Colin's actually using that. I know the agreement was made that the district would go ahead and pay it because there was a thought that, just give him the number. And I said adamantly no, because 8300 is the Holiday Island Marina. And if you give up ownership of that, you don't know what's going to happen to get it back. And every publication out there has 8,300. So I think an agreement was made that that cell phone, we basically pay it. I don't know, I don't know what his use is of it and stuff, but I absolutely refuse to give up ownership of 8,300 because I don't think that's good for the district.
Now that you can get a discount on boat rental, and I didn't look at it, but I don't know if it's 253-8300 or the cell phone number that you call. He's not down there now, of course, December. But,
Right.
I'm not sure. I was.
Yeah, and I'm not sure either, but.
The other question I had with the cell phones that we have assigned, are they for personal use as well as HICID use?
Well, the water department, whoever is on call, packs that cell phone.
Okay.
Now, the fire chief has it with him. I don't know how much personal he does on it. I don't know if he has a separate cell phone. So, but that's the.
So none of our business computer stuff, like my phone, I could have my bank account on it or whatever, and probably you do too. But on the cell phones that we have assigned out, nobody from the outside could get into that phone and get into your financial records. Is that right?
No, I don't know that they even have internet capability on those phones.
All right, thank you.
Carrie, in the budget, we have $7,200 for credit card fees. Explain to me what that is and who's charging that.
Okay. For utilities, when people pay with a credit card, you cannot charge a convenience fee. On assessments, whenever people call in, they want to put it on their card, we say, now just be aware there is a 2.5% convenience fee because that's what the credit card company charges us.
Who is that credit card company?
Avalon. But something on the credit cards you have to keep in mind, which, I mean, if somebody can find a better deal. Now, Nextiva, we pay for 28 lines. That's what Deb just brought me. But anyway, so on the credit cards, if you find a deal, that's wonderful. But one thing about our office is, and people talk about, being archaic and da-da-da-da-da. Our office has always tried to be very aware of what's costing the property owners. Right now, we have a utility software, and the utilities is no big deal. You can switch and go with another company. That's not a big deal. The assessments are a booger because you have a receivable, and it's not going to be delinquent until October the 10th. So it took us a lot of work to get it to where those assessments and that system knew how to treat that and it not be thrown into delinquency and everything. So any software you would switch to, trust me, there is a big deal. Our accounting software is wonderful. Our point of sale system is great, but you have 3 separate systems. And you have interfaces and all that to where we can feed the information into that accounting software. So that is a little bit of a fun thing. On credit cards, you switch companies, all that has to be interfaced into what we have. So it's not just a matter of you call up a company and you say, oh, that's great, sign us up. There's a lot of background work that goes in to make those credit card processing feed into our point of sale system.
But
Then
the
that-
$7,200 is strictly from utilities or from the assessments?
Well, if you look on the income, get that here. Yeah. That's what we've collected and that's what we've recouped. So the utilities, we can't recoup that because you can't, somebody paying their utility bill, you can't say, oh, we're going to charge you 2.5% fee. And then at the pro shops and there, on their annual cards and stuff like that, I assume they're recouping that 2.5% convenience fee. In our point of sale system, when you key it in, you put the amount, and then you have a separate entry that is just for that convenience fee, and that's how it's tracked.
Carrie, what do you know about Golf Now and our contract with them?
Well, I was not involved in that. And what that is our point of sale system that I refer to. Golf Now is what the Pro Shop, the Rec Center, and we use. We use it because of credit card payments. You know, we don't do the booking tee times or anything like that. But that is a program that when people come in with credit cards, we do it through Golf Now. I mean, Golf Now is somehow connected to that, and we just use the interface part of it for payments. And I really don't know anything about the rest of it.
I'm really confused about this Golf Now. I think last year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we did 500 rounds of golf through Golf Now for $14.
Well, and I think if you look at your budget, and I could be wrong, I think if you look at the golf department on the Golf Night Now, I think you had over $8,000 of income that come through whatever service they do. Like I said, I'm not sure. But I think if you go to the Pro Shop, that in the income part, you'll see Golf Now, it's $8,000 some dollars.
You sent out, or maybe it was Carrie, but someone, we got a real good discussion or a picture of what Golf Now, how many rounds, what, and so forth. There's a lot of detail there. But did that come from the Pro Shop or what?
That was the reviews through Golf Now that they send out and they put on their website.
Okay. So what the chair is saying is that we had 500 rounds that were booked through Golf Now, but the only profit we got out of those 500 rounds was $14?
No.
Oh, a round. But normally we charge
homeowners $25.
Yeah. Okay. So they got for half price.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering if it's worth it. And I guess I'm asking the whole board that.
And right now, I'm talking to a guy through Golf Now for rewriting our contract for 2025, because it's due in May 23rd. So he sent me a linked video that explains the whole process of it, which I can forward out to you guys as soon as we get done here. That way, he gives you step by step what percentages are paid out, how we benefit from it, what percentage they keep, and I can send that out, and that way you'll be clarified up on it a little bit more.
Because unfortunately, the people that signed up for Golf Now are no longer working here.
Agreed, but what I'm seeing and what I've seen thus far, Golf Now makes a lot of money, but HISA doesn't with that agreement. I just don't see it, how it benefits us. We have now the AMP tax. I just shouldn't do away with Golf Now and use some AMP money to advertise, because essentially that's what Golf Now is.
Yeah.
Is marketing and advertising.
And their POS system. And the credit card.
They provide that, but it's very biased towards them.
Yeah. Well,
And we
anytime.
can buy a point of service system from anybody and not be tied to a contract.
But then you're, like Carrie said, you got the backside of everything. I mean, there's always a backside of putting in the PO system, running the credit cards, all that stuff. So you got to remember that too.
Rich, I remember all that and I recall that, but at what cost are we paying for that?
You know, and that way it explains it all out to you and you can see it. He's pretty thorough on the video. 85% goes to us, 15% goes to them.
I was on the board when we passed the motion allowing outside play, and I had to be careful when I started my car after that, because it was such a hue and cry and certain people. But right now, it's interesting if you look at the numbers that the golf course would present at the end of the year. the number of rounds from outside of Holiday Island and the number of passes, or $25, $45, whatever, of locals. And we need that outside play. And if so, there are 500 rounds. Maybe we need to work out a better deal for our percentage of Golf Now, but we need more outside play, and we need more inside Holiday Island residents to cut down the amount that the homeowner pays that doesn't golf.
Ken, I think, I agree with what you're saying, but I think the way for more rounds of golf annually are not giving golf away at $14 a round, but having more tournaments.
Yeah.
And the tournaments went from 80 tournaments a year to 8.
Yeah.
There went all of our revenue.
Yeah.
So I agree, we do need a lot of more outside play. And in talking to Mark from the Pro Shop, he's prepared to start looking to host a lot more tournaments at Holiday Island, which will generate a lot more revenue.
Have you ever used Golf Now, Doug?
Have you heard anybody tell you that they buy their rounds of golf through Golf Now instead of paying at the?
Absolutely, they do. I play with them almost every day, and a lot of the guys, they use Golf Now. Use Golf Now because it's considerably cheaper before, but now what they do is the club said, hey, instead of you paying Golf Now $35 for that's what it was, $35, why don't you just give us the $35 and we skip Golf Now? So that's what they're doing now. And they're paying $35 for a round of golf rather than, but they have to double up on the carts.
Our staff agreed to that?
Yeah, the staff agreed to that, and that was Lauren that agreed to that. Yeah, well, I know that's the truth, and I know that's what's happened, huh?
I guess what bothers me is how Golf Now is so integrated into everything at Heisen. It's almost like a computer virus. It's gotten its way in here, and it's hard to get it out of here. Stop it.
Well, let me ask a question, and this is because I don't know. On Golf Now, is that how they book online tees?
Yes, that's how they book
Yeah, so
online.
people go online and book a tee time, and it's usually an off schedule tee time, but they can buy it for $21.
Golf Now is allotted 3 tee times. That's 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 12:30.
The first 4 bookings they have in a day. The first 4, Golf Now gives our club 0. After that, they start paying some back.
Is that right?
You're going off what you've heard. That's why I'm going to send everybody this video of how this works. Because from what I've been told about Golf Now and from what I watched in the video, it clarifies everything up for you. So I think that's something that I just need to send that out. You can go through, see the contract. We can negotiate on it. I want to negotiate the times because I want to put them closer around the lunchtime. But that's stuff that we can negotiate on later on, but we got to get it done before we got to do any changes we do. It has to be 30 days before the contract ends.
Okay. When I ask about the credit card rate, that is set by Golf Now.
No, the card processing company sets that. We're just using their point-of-sale system to process those payments.
But that credit card processing company,
Has nothing to do with Golf Now.
It is integrated on the back side of Golf Now to run the credit card company. But the credit card company is its own entity. Golf Now has this part of it, the point-of-sale system of it. So the credit card system's coming through the back door into the point-of-sale and running through that way.
so what I'm hearing is we could change the credit card processing company.
As long as you verify that they can interface into our current system.
Okay. I guess what I'm saying is that if we're paying an inflated credit card fee to backdoor the Golf Now thing, and it's totally separate from Golf Now, then maybe my issue is with the credit card processing fees and what they charge, and not with Golf Now.
Could be.
Well, that's worth looking into long-term. That's our perfection list over here, is to get the best possible deal for our credit card processing with all the back-end things that are involved
Well, in my opinion, I think we can reduce some of that. When we reopen the kitchen and the pro shop downstairs, I want ATM machines. People have a choice then. They can pay a zero if they belong to that bank and withdraw cash, as opposed to paying inflated credit card fees.
Be something
Right now, they don't have that option.
Yeah.
And furthermore, HISID can actually make money on an ATM machine.
We would need to let our insurance company know it's there. Because I imagine that will affect insurance rates.
To having an ATM machine?
Sure, you got cash in that machine.
Yeah, but that's up to the bank. I mean, when you see an ATM machine anywhere, the property that's there isn't paying any liability on that machine. That's whoever provided that machine, that's their insurance.
Right, we would have to let the insurance company know because that puts our building at an increased risk of being violated. Just,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, we should notify them, I'm
Yeah.
certain. But I don't know that it would affect our premium.
right.
well,
I don't think it's gonna cost us anything.
Well, anyway, it's back to an option for the credit card fees, another option they
Right.
provide is the convenience of having an ATM machine at both of those locations.
I think an ATM might be worth having. I don't know what the
Can't hear
cost
you.
is. I said I don't have a problem with ATM, you know, that's worth looking into. I think on the credit card side, our food pricing takes into account, is priced, our credit card fee cost is priced into, or should be priced in to our food pricing. A lot of the restaurants now are going to adding on separate credit card fees. But it is something, is it not, just like sales tax is included and the credit card fees are included, you bump up your price that you wanted for the service by 6% or whatever you build it in. And so to say that
So the cash customer is paying the same as the credit card customer.
yes. Yeah, and that's not necessarily fair, but, I mean, what do you do?
Well,
It's a customer
I guess
service.
I'd be happy with just knowing that we're getting a fair credit card fee, a fair credit card rate. To me, when I look at the cash, and you separate that out from the 18 hole and just look at the credit card and then the credit card fees, it's a lot more than 2.5%. That's my point.
That's what we need to figure out.
Do other commissioners have questions of Kerry, of the administration?
I do. Kerry, I'd like to make a suggestion, and it's for Rich as well, but we had an email a week or so more ago about a gentleman who paid an assessment by mail, and the postmark was like 10 days after the 25th or something like that. He said he put it in quite a bit earlier than the 15th at the post office, and I can't remember now which post office it was. It might have been ours or something else. But what I would like to suggest for the next time we send out assessments is in large print. I don't know what font that would be, but in large print, if you are going to mail your assessment bill to HISID, put in bold print, have the
It's there.
postmaster
It's already
stamp it.
there. It's
Stamp it.
already there, and that's why in the newsletter,
Do we have that in our bills?
yes.
It is.
Yes, it's already there, and then in the happenings,
But-
4 or 5 times, I
Yeah.
put, please, if you're mailing it close to the date, go into your post
Yeah.
office and have them hand cancel it.
We-
I don't know what more we can do. It's on the back of the bills in bold.
But that's
And-
on the
and
bill.
Ken-
That's on the bill.
Yes,
Ken.
it's on the bill.
Ken, may I say something? I looked at that gentleman's letter. He sent it on the 10th of October
Yeah.
and expected it to be here on the 15th with a Sunday and a bank holiday in between. he is responsible for getting that bill in the mail in good time
Yeah.
if he wants to use the post office. And as far as he was complaining about the response he got, I went through this last year with the woman whose hurricane came through her place and she didn't get her fee paid. She wanted it forgiven. We are not allowed by law to forgive that fee.
I agree, and I've read the state statute.
The
We're
state
required to
says
charge a
what? Shall.
25% late
The
fee.
state says shall.
Good.
And so
Well,
that
I
is
I agree.
the correct response to the complainer is, we have no option. We can't refund your money.
I agree with
Well-
everything you said, except what if a family owns a lot, 3 lots, and they're in Kalamazoo, Michigan? If on our bill, it says, make sure if you want to credit given for a postmark, you must go into the post office and stamp it.
Well, that's,
They don't know that in Kalamazoo.
sure they do.
They don't know how long it takes to get here.
Well,
Well,
let
that's their
me
problem.
clarify. Let me give you a little bit further clarification, okay? It doesn't matter how long it takes to get here. I can go in there and I could pull you out a stack. My staff, whenever they're processing payments after that due date, every payment is observed, looked at. If that postmark is after the 15th, I can show you the envelope. I mean, everything is predicated on the postmark, not if it took, I mean, we've had cases, guys, that 3 weeks later, we got a payment that was postmarked October the 13th. So we don't penalize them for how long it gets here, and that's why we repeatedly say, take it into your post office and have them hand stamp it.
Okay.
We
I
just
don't-
allow for when it's mailed, not when it gets here.
I read the whole thing on social media.
Okay.
I don't,
And
And I
it
don't-
reeks of, the dog ate my homework.
There you go.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm not buying it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean,
Come on, we've all been paying taxes all of our lives, and we have dates we have to file. I mean,
and they
if you
rece-
get tagged with a late fee, that's your problem.
Well, and they received that bill March the 15th.
Carrie, I'm not saying that your staff did anything wrong. I'm not saying we did
Right.
anything wrong. I'm just trying to, in the future, if you're out of town, make sure the darn thing is stamped and you watch the clerk stamp it.
Well-
I would even take a picture of the darn thing.
I would
know,
too.
okay?
Of course, I would pay it prior to
Yeah, I
October
would
the
wait till
13th.
4 days before, 5 days before.
But I don't know, Ken, what more, I mean, if you
No,
look
oh,
back
yeah.
at the
If
happenings.
you got it in the bill, I don't look at the bill,
Yeah,
I give
no.
it to my wife. I come down here in September and pay my bill,
Right.
September.
Right. It's there, it's kind of like
Yeah,
the
it
old
is.
adage, you can lead a horse to water.
And again, the levy payer is responsible for getting it to us on
Right.
time.
And
That's-
you guys don't fully understand what this staff goes through. Whenever I walked through there, Regina was getting a royal chewing because, which I won't get into all the details, the conundrum we're dealing with by foreclosures being halted, okay? So she was getting chewed out because you have all that stuff going down the Commissioner of State Lands, and you have Joe Friday Real Estate goes in there and buys 70 lots, and then he goes and he takes him a while to sell them, and then he goes and he sells it to somebody, and whenever June Friday comes in here and she's bought a lot, well, 2 years of assessments haven't been paid, and they know nothing about it. You have people that run down the Commissioner of State Lands and they buy some property, and then I've looked at the Commissioner of State Lands website, and they are pretty clear to tell buyers beware. There could be, charges through who you buy with. Check this out. But people will go down there and thinking they've got the deal of the century, and then they call, because whenever we get those, we create a bill, and whenever they get that bill, they're like, what's an assessment? What's an assessment? What are you talking about? We had one gal that she was called Gold Mine Realty. And we kept getting these calls and thinking, my goodness, what's going on? And then after about 25 calls, you figure out this gal ran the Commissioner of State Lands, bought a group of lots, and she had a web page and everything. And what she was proposing was she was helping people make money. They were going to invest, and they were going to make money. She gave them a gold bar, a prayer card, and a Holiday Island lot. So, I mean, you guys just have no idea. And Regina and I have been here a long, long time. And that's like whenever I hire people, I'll say, as long as we've been here, we still run into things that we think, okay, where did that come from? And water bills, it's, that's a whole nother thing too. So, okay.
Question that's got to be answered or not, but according to the budget, and Randy, you're really good at finding it, I think our uncollectibles are like 521,000, something like that, over $500,000 on lots that could be, repossessed is what the word I'm trying to think of. So I'm asking you as the head of the office staff and Rich as district manager, what is our plan going forward, or don't we have one yet as far as when we're going to foreclose and at what year of foreclosure?
I'm glad you brought that up. I don't have it right here in front of me. If you go to 99's budget, the general, right next to us, the general fund. Sorry, I know everything by department numbers, sorry.
It's close enough. 500 is close enough.
Okay, if you look up there, and everybody talks about, oh, we can't show what's billed. We can't not show what we bill because our accounting system prints a report, and that's what we billed.
Right.
We have to report that. Now, with Regina's like a walking encyclopedia. Her memory amazes me. What we do is we sit down and we go through how many delinquents we have, and Regina and I prepare a guesstimate of what we know we're not going to collect. So if you look there, that 200 and, I'm blind, I can't see it from here.
We need larger font.
The $547,970. And keep in mind, that is just 2025.
Yeah.
That's just 2025. That's what we're saying, there's no way we're going to get that. Now, and then mind you, you take that off, and then Jennifer also, she takes out the restricted income. Your budget is not predicated on our best guess of what we're not going to collect. And Regina and I have done that for years because we don't want you to inflate your budget $600,000 when we know good and well you're probably not going to get it. So that has always been backed out. But you have to, the auditors, I've been asked a lot of reports here lately. And that's the stuff we have to show them. So you can't skirt around what we're billing.
No,
You can't, and
I'm
that's
not-
why you back
okay.
out the 547.
Here's the same simple question. Are we going to repossess, and are we going to go to lawyers, and are we going to do whatever we've been doing for years on 1 year back? That's the question I'm asking.
That's a good question. I'd like to know the answer to that too.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
Um,
Because if they're 5 years in arrears, we're not going to get that, are we? Do you have anybody that's
No.
5 years that haven't paid?
Regina just sent out delinquent letters, and there was over 1,500 letters mailed.
We're still working on it, through Tim, trying to get him to commit to what he can do with his staff is my biggest hurdle.
The only.
I'll take anything right now. I mean, we need to look, and we can pick and choose what ones we foreclose on. I mean, it states there, the way it's worded, we can pick and choose.
The only suggestion I would have, but I'm not legal, is with us having over 1,500, and some of those, keep in mind, receive letters of when their foreclosure is going to start, and then poof, it disappeared, okay? The only thing I can think of is if there would be a legal way, when you send them a notice, you could give them the option, if you would execute a quitclaim deed, get it notarized, and return it to us, then you'll be done with it. Then the only cost a district would have would be in the deed preparation and the recording of it. And that's the only thing I can, Regina and I have talked about, that's the only thing I can even think that might be, help get rid of some of those. Yeah, and most cost effective, but that's.
I think the whole
don't have authority,
foreclosure
but-
situation is another workshop.
A lot more than 6 hours.
It's been years and years and years of development.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that it's,
And in the admin department, we don't just sit here and take payments and that's all we do, okay? Like, I pretty well do the newsletter, and yes, that's something I still need to train somebody on, but we're working on the cross-training. And I'm not gonna tell you, oh, I'm short-staffed, but we're busy enough. It's really hard to do cross-training when you don't have an employee that has a downtime to stop doing their current responsibilities to try to learn another one, besides the person that needs to train them to do that. We've done a lot of it, but we do, like we had a meeting last, what day was it, on our 457 plan, which we appreciate. You know, I want to thank you commissioners and previous commissioners that we have that, because that is a wonderful program. I handle our health insurance. And, and there's a lot of human resource stuff going on besides listening to the customers for hours a day. And I want to brag on the staff in this office, because I'm very, very blessed to have the staff that we do, and I hope you guys realize that. During the assessment collection time, before I came to work at the district and I was working for the developer was paying the assessments on every lot out here that the developer owned. And he came in one day, and it was probably January. He says, you know, that check still isn't cashed. So he went down to the district office, and the employee was there, I won't name her by name, and said, how come our check hadn't? She turned around, and there was a box on the floor with his check laying on the top. Whenever we did this year, we had, like, because people will call in, did you get my check? Did you get my check? Well, I'm sorry, we got a stack whenever we get through, da-da-da. These ladies had those checks in the bank. If it wasn't the day we received them, the next day. And to me, that's a major accomplishment.
You misunderstood what I was asking. Is there any way that we can recoup any part of that over $500,000? I'm not saying anything wrong about your staff.
No.
They're doing a great job.
No.
But is there any way that we can get off the dime here and move forward? We've been doing this for years. You've been here 41 years. I've been here 18, and we've never solved it yet. And we've got lawyers and everything, but we've got to go after, or else
No, Ken, we're,
there's too much money.
Right,
$500,000 is too much money.
yeah, we're a victim of circumstances that it got snowballed, and we won't go into all that. Like I said, the only thing I can think of is if our legal people said we could possibly offer them to do the quitclaim deed, and people say, oh, well, you ladies in the office need to prepare the quitclaim deed. No, we don't, because you have legal implications on that whenever it goes and gets recorded. You know, we don't have the bonding and stuff that those abstract companies have that they can stand behind should there be an error. But I'll tell you, Regina will bird dog and she'll find that error. She's created more scrivener's deeds than you guys can imagine.
Last question, are you doing anything about somebody who didn't pay last October 15th? Is your staff doing anything about those?
1,500 delinquent letters have gone out, which includes those that did not pay last year.
Any other questions for Carrie?
thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
And thank your staff for us.
I think right now we should take a 10-minute break and come back and talk about the amenities, and then I think we're pretty close to where we need to be.